votes. That's all. It's not about him actually trying to win or those candidates trying to win.
So you believe that Elon is kind of like a Ross Perot, where he's just going to divide the Republican Party up?
Yeah.
Wow.
For the ones that still like Elon or like his money, should I say? Those folks, because he is richer than Trump, regardless of how much he lost.
Yeah.
He's still richer. Yeah, he's still richer than Trump. So at the end of the day, he knows how to take a punch. You know, we seen he had.
But wait a minute. What about the notion that Trump has flirted with not only sicking Doge on Elon, which essentially will have him swallowed up his waste, fraud, and abuse, but he's even joked about possibly deporting the guy. Could he run anything with Trump using the whole system as a weapon against him?
No, because all Elon has to do is those intricate things that Trump touts himself about, like Space Force and all of this, and rockets, and just technology, period, that he really knows nothing about, but he had an inside guy in Elon telling him about it and showing him things. Once Elon told him that he would decommission his rockets, Trump kind of fell back and didn't really have anything bad to say, remember? But it took probably his base to say, hold up, man, you gonna let this foreigner come over here, this African, you gonna let this African American come over here and tell you what it is? Boy, you better get back out there and kick his ass, you know?
So Elon is, I mean, technically you're right, but just the notion of calling Elon an African American has a certain amount of humor to it. But so you think Elon could actually be competitive to Trump? I tend to think that if Trump went after Elon full blast, Elon's going to lose.
I think that Trump, people would try to do something. Trump himself is just Trump. Trump is a walking, talking curse. Everything he touches, it ends in disaster. First term, disaster.
He's a fucking winner. He's a fucking winner, Stick. I think that everything Trump touches may have problems. You know, Mike Lindell, Rudolph Giuliani, Elon Musk. Yeah, the stuff turns to rust and corrodes, but Trump wins. He keeps winning.
No. It's not a win in the sense of it's perception, because it's not a win. When you got so many people losing their lives because you use waste fraud to get rid of USA ID, that's not a win to me. I get it. It's perception. You look at it as, well, this is what he wanted and he got it, so he won. But in actuality,
no. 4 years ago. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if it's a win, you wouldn't have somebody like Elon saying that they're going to start their own party. If it's a win, you wouldn't have people getting on TV and or these lives saying, some, not all, I regret my vote, and or I voted for Trump because I thought he was going to do this, but now in hindsight, that was a horrible mistake. That's not a win. It's a win in the sense, yes, you're the president. It's a win for you, but it's not a win overall. A win overall is like Barack Obama. Yeah, you're talking about a win.
Yeah, you're talking about a win for the people. I'm talking about a win for him. And by the way, somebody just put in YouTube, Erykah Badu passed away, huh? Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know about
Somebody says at 54. I hope not. I hope not either, but I don't know why that person would just make that up. Yeah. But anyway, I will say, here's what I mean when I say a win, how Trump is winning. 4 years ago, he was dealing with a host of criminal charges. Ultimately, he not only dealt with a bunch of criminal charges, he ended up being found guilty and convicted for 34 felonies. Not only did he survive and emerge victorious after those 34 felonies, what was his name? Jack Smith, that guy pretty much is gone completely from the public eye, had to step down. Just about everybody who has risen up against Trump is damn near unemployed from what they used to do when they rose up against. I don't see how you don't see him as winning. Now, you're talking about winning for the American people. That's a different argument. But Trump himself, he's getting richer, he's getting more powerful, he's succeeding. I don't see nothing but victory.
Well, I'll say this. If you don't get a third term like they want him to have, Is it a possibility that those charges that Jack Smith had can still come up? Yes.
What if he pardons him? What if he just blanket pardons himself before leaving office? Didn't count. Thank you. Appreciate that. What if he just issues himself a blanket pardon? Not to mention the whole immunity thing. I mean, all of that's going to... Trump is not going to see the inside. It ain't even worth it, in my opinion, to even go after the guy.
I'm going to say it like this. To you, it ain't worth it. Just like to me, it ain't worth it for MAGA to want Democrats to suffer or cry or even be hurt. You know what I mean? It's not worth it. But yet they still do it. Yet they still want it. So guess what? I want to see if he makes it, if he's still alive and breathing. I want to see his ass thrown in jail.
What is he, like 85? You want him in like 83, 85? You realize?
I don't give a damn. He can shit all over the damn prison. I don't care. I want to see his ass in jail. And then on top of that, before he leaves office, I want to see one of these reporters call him out his name, call him a fuck boy or something on live TV and say, I don't want to come to the White House anyway as long as your bitch ass is there. I need that in my life.
Well, there's a host of reasons why none of that's going to happen. First of all, Trump is not going to go. Trump will never be incarcerated. He'll be president until he's like 83. And then after that, if you were to charge him with a crime, he could probably fight it out in court and delay any type of conviction and sentencing probably for another couple of years. You got to hope he even lives to be 86, 87, even get anything out of him, much less some time served. So that ain't going to happen. In regards to hoping a reporter insults President Trump, when you take in consideration what insulting Trump as a reporter can do to the network you work at, nobody's going to do it. Because if you insult Trump, even if he deserves it, your network's going to fire you and you might be blackballed in that industry. So you're not going to have any reporter do that. I get where you're coming from, but none of that's going to happen.
Well, we'll see, because we thought that none of the stuff that he's doing now would happen. We thought that, he wouldn't be allowed to whoop those charges that were blatant. He had 34 felonies. We didn't think that he could still be the president, even though it seemed it was in the law that he can't do it, or he shouldn't do it, or it looks bad on our country. They voted it in anyway. So America has, or the United States has given me a newfound hope. And I hope everything that needs to go wrong goes wrong. And for all those Texans, listen. For all those Texans that voted for Trump, where is he now? Where is FEMA now? Like, who's gonna help you?
You're doing exactly what the life is. You're doing exactly what the life is about. You're celebrating misery.
And I'm telling you, this is what it is. Not for the people who don't deserve it, but for the people who voted for this, who voted for tie your bootstraps up, get out there, shovel all that mud out your house and redo all the stuff yourself. No help. You don't need it. Hey, you got what you wanted. Like you said, you voted for it. How can I be mad, or how can I not celebrate something? Like you just said, it's a win. It's a win. if you're gonna call people,
that's a good. I like how you threw my words back at me effectively. That is, I don't like it, but that's a really good way of throwing it back at me. I agree with that.
Yeah. So if it's a win and you like everything that he's doing, nothing will change your mind, nothing will change your vote. You know what I mean? Then, hey, have it. Texans, have it. Y'all so proud of Hot Wheels and everything that he got going on, and they don't even know where he was at. He was missing for like the whole weekend or something.
And by the way, for anybody who don't know, Hot Wheels is taken from, what is her name? Big bleach blonde built. What is the girl's name?
Talking about Miss Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah, she's the one that started calling Texas Governor Greg Abbott Hot Wheels because he's in a wheel.
And it's catchy, and that's what he is. He's got a hot attitude. He tried to. I believe he did pardon the guy that unalived the man at the BLM.
That was protest. One is Daniel Penny and the other was Daniel Perry. I get there because Daniel Penny's the guy the Marine who choked out a guy in the New York subway. The other guy who did what you're talking about one is Daniel Penny, one is Daniel Perry. The guy. So yeah, you're right. The guy took out a BLM person and he was eager to pardon him. I gotta move it on though, but celebrate misery. You sound like you're part of the crew.
Hey, I'm not part of the MAGA crew, but I am part of the crew that's saying God right now is working so swift. You know, normally you'll ask and pray for people to get what they just deserve, and as soon as that bill passed, they got flooded. It is what it is. I don't know what to tell you.
God? You think God flooded them as revenge?
Hey, God did Sodom and Gomorrah. It's in the Bible.
Oh
right?
My Lord! I gotta go, Stick. Wow.
Hey, these are the things that they believe. You have to come at them with things that they believe in. Ted Cruz believes that we are supposed to protect Israel, even if you're Hindu, even if you're Buddhist, because you are in the United States. We are supposed to just sacrifice ourselves and go do for Israel. Man, he can eat my balls.
All right, Stick. That was a hell of a note to end on. Let me move it on with the program. The last caller, The last caller is a sick, crazy individual. Neptune Red says little maggot cult followers are so gullible you could trick them with anything. Yikes. So you just hate Texas, says Michael. Well, you know something, that's a good question. It's asking, does people hate Texas? I was trying to find it, but I believe there's a clip of Trump saying he hates Democrats. President of the United States, I believe he said that in the last few days. Said because they hate Americans, something like that. I should have had the clip ready to play, but I believe that Trump just recently said he hates Democrats. So much for TDS, huh? The blind hatred of Trump. Well, if he's saying he hates Democrats, it kind of justifies hating him, huh? I believe he said that. By the way, I want to correct something. I have no clue why somebody would do this. I briefly mentioned the notion that somebody stated that Erykah Badu had passed away. I've seen nothing but folks in the comments correcting that, saying that's not true. Why would somebody, what are we talking about? Celebrating empathy? You know, making light of somebody's misery? Why would somebody do something like that? I don't know, but it was in the comments. Somebody did state that Erykah Badu dies at 54. Someone stated that. Why make that up? I don't know. But and it was on, it's a TikTok. Somebody said it's a TikTok that someone made, but apparently it's not true. Which would lead to the question again, why would somebody go on social media and create a whole video stream like you do on TikTok about somebody dying that didn't die? I don't want to say it should be a crime. I don't like making crimes out of shit, but you should certainly be able to sue that person civilly. I mean, like, why do something like that? Like, this is the only way you can get to be, you can get your clicks and likes. You have no talent. You're just going to make up this something just ridiculous. Anyway, looking in the comments, Mayor McCheese didn't get Trump overnight. Damn. Don't know what that means. Trump said that whenever he was in Florida. Well, in regards to a president saying he hates Democrats, I haven't seen the clip. I've seen a little bit of snippets on it on the news program, so I'm pretty sure he said it, but I see folks in the comments as well. I will just say this. If you're justifying Trump hating Democrats, and the only person that's going to do that is MAGA. I don't even think the traditional Republicans are going to justify a president saying he hates half the country. I mean, remember how the right went crazy when Hillary Clinton talked about deplorables, or Obama said they cling to their Bibles and guns? But suddenly when Trump says he hates the Democrats, well, now it's okay. So understand that when you do that, that side of the aisle is not going to work with you. So in the future, if you're ever wondering, this guy could cure cancer and they still wouldn't like him, well, he said he hates them. Said he hates them. They're not going to work. You're not going to work with somebody that's openly saying you hate the country and they hate you. I mean, so he kind of just killed any sort of olive branch he could ever have between him and the Democrat Party. Anyway, looking in the comments, Biden called Trump supporters garbage, quit cherry picking. No, it's not cherry picking. Because when Biden called the Trump supporters garbage, the Trump supporters were very insulted by that. They were very critical of that. It was all over the media. But let's see how they react now that Trump has done it back. Let's see if they have that same amount of insult. They're defending it. They're defending it. So understand it. Looking in the comments, before I continue on with the show, None Useful says, if Trump knocked on my door for water, I wouldn't give him the sweat off my gonads. Damn. Yikes. Oh my God, really? The man said if Trump knocked on my door for water, I wouldn't give him the sweat off my balls. God, I'm assuming you're joking on you, sir. I'm assuming you wouldn't disrespect the president to that level. I'm assuming nobody would do. Wow, that's bad. Shit. You got sweaty balls and I can't get a sip. God damn. Tap the screen, by the way. Get the likes on up to about 30,000. We can certainly make that happen. We don't block, ban, or censor. Helps out the algorithm, helps out the show. Tap the screen, get the likes on up. We'll continue on with Denkow. Good evening, Denkow. Trump supporters are just as sensitive as he is. Me too. I don't disagree with that. You hear about the liberals being snowflakes and yeah, if you say the wrong thing, the Trump supporters will. I mean, they believe in censorship and cancel culture. You know, even going all the way back to the Dixie Chicks about the Iraq War. The right believes in that as well. They would happily censor Taylor Swift if they could. Denkow, good evening.
Good evening.
Or no, more afternoon or whatever. I'm on a different time schedule.
Like afternoon.
So I'm asking you, I covered a gamut of incidents in this country where it's starting to look like Americans celebrate the misery of others. I mean, we could talk about George Floyd, we could talk about Ashley Babbitt, we could talk about Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony. When bad things happen, you know, Kyle Rittenhouse takes out 3 protesters, people were celebrating, people celebrated what happened to Trayvon Martin. Why are we celebrating the misery of other people?
Right now, it's almost fashionable. I mean, when the president of the United States comes out on Christmas and Thanksgiving and New Year's and says, you know, happy holidays, except for the
radical left-leaning Democrats that hate America. Yeah.
Right. It's normalized now. It's a fad, you know, and of course his fans, the people with the real TDS, they go right along with it.
Are you suggesting the real folks that should be diagnosed with TDS are actually MAGA?
Yes.
What are you basing that on?
I was just in the chat talking to Johnny, and he's talking about he's upset because Democrats don't compliment Trump. Like, what?
Yeah, I don't know where that's coming from.
He said we can't have an intellectual conversation if you guys can't, give him, if you can't be giving him compliments. Like, that's the stupidest shit ever.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he was just trolling because obviously Trump doesn't compliment Democrats, and Trump said Obama didn't do anything right. I mean, he was obviously very critical of Biden as well, so I don't know why Trump would expect Democrats to be complimentary to him. I mean, he didn't even want to give up the election in 2020.
Right.
So,
hey, I'm not sure if you know, and I don't mean to like derail the topic of your conversation, but some they took a shot at some of them border patrols.
I mean, I'm going to say this with the utmost respect for Border Patrol, but damn, I'm trying to come up with a better way of saying this other than about time. I mean, I'm surprised because let me tell you something. Let me tell you why I said about time. I know I'm going to get hammered for saying about time because I don't want any Border Patrol to be injured. But I asked the question, does having Second Amendment rights prevent tyranny? What some of these folks are doing is nothing short of tyrannical. They're running up in businesses without any warrant, no name plates and things. I'm surprised that ICE, most of that's ICE, but I'm assuming the Border Patrol is connected with them, but I'm surprised that people haven't done that already.
True. And look, it falls right back with the topic of your conversation. When they've done so much, it's hard to have empathy for the other side. When they've normalized calling people names, I mean, they got people that they were showing that they changed the name of the sign actually to Alligator Alcatraz. Like they literally...
They actually put a sign up?
Yes, and they had people out there with their kids. Trump had MAGA hats taking pictures in front of the sign.
You know what that reminds me of?
Yes, I know exactly what it reminds me.
Standing around watching a black man dangling.
Yep.
So it's just like, I mean, wow.
With their kids. I mean, they like anybody with half a brain would understand that there's no way that they could have that facility out there in the middle of the Everglades during hurricane season, and you're not going to be able to protect those people out there.
They would just leave them and tell them they should have thought about. You should have thought about the possibility of dying in a hurricane before you came in the country illegally. That's what they would say.
So imagine somebody who their only crime was they came across the border at a port of entry. They ended up, they worked in the country for many years. No crimes, no nothing. They get placed in this detention center in the middle of the Everglades, and now a hurricane comes and blow away all their protection, and now they out there with the alligator. Like, somebody who's cool with that has the nerve to even say anything, or even try to insinuate that, oh, well, he didn't mean he hated all Democrats. The president of the United States should never say he hates anybody who he rules over, who he presides over.
No, but you know something, I've said this before on previous lives. There's going to come a time in history where our descendants are going to be trying to pretend like we didn't do as their ancestors what we're doing right now. Just like in history, you don't really want to see stamps they used to have that featured a black man hanging, or, postcards that showed kids standing around at some of these things. This taking pictures and selling Alligator Alcatraz merchandise, that's going to be one of those things in the future where they're going to want to hide that it ever happened. I mean, no adult is going to want to admit, as a kid, I took a picture in front of that sign and was smiling. And they're not going to want to. They're not going to want to have it known. Just like, what is it called? Gator bait, of how they used to take a black infant and use it to bait the gator, to make the gator come up and bite the baby so you could catch it. Nobody wants to actually tie themselves to that in modern times. They're not going to want to tie themselves to this stuff.
Just like the German army, nobody is celebrating that their grandparents used to be, in the German military. Like, they disassociate themselves with it because it's so horrible, and people are doing the same. They're emulating those behaviors now, and not even thinking about the consequences, not even thinking about when. Like, I would be horrified if my kids grew up one day and say, "You were a part of MAGA? Like, you were a part of that whole movement? Like, you was okay with the president saying he hated half the country? You were cool with him just detaining grandmothers and going into college."
Well, let me tell you something, sir. There was a guy before him named Biden. Now, he's long dead. He said something about they were garbage. This is what I mean. This is how it works. 100 years in the future. Well, I read in the history book before him, there was a guy named Joe Biden who called the country garbage as well. So maybe they'll still be fighting back, even in the future.
And that's where if you cannot put people's statement into their perspective, just saying he said they were garbage. What did he actually say?
Wasn't this in regards to Trump or Trump's comedian at Madison Square Garden saying that Puerto Rico's like a sea of floating garbage or something? And so Biden was mad that they would host a comedian that would refer to Puerto Rico as garbage. And then Biden said, well, they're garbage for saying that. And they ignored the comedian from Trump and just ran with Biden's statement as if it was a solo statement.
Right, but you're equating what he said about people laughing at a concert with the entire, Republican Party.
Well, I'll agree with MAGA often on this. They took Biden's comment out of context, because Biden didn't just get up there and say that MAGA's garbage. It was in relation to a statement made at a Trump gathering, and he said, "Well, if you think Puerto Rico's garbage, then you're garbage too." I mean, that's really what the context of it is. But they took out the comedian part and just left Biden with this garbage standalone statement to make him look like he just got up there and called MAGA garbage for no reason at all.
Right. Well, we all know that context doesn't matter anymore, and if it's a reason why it doesn't matter anymore, because one movement, one person has ingrained this stuff into society so bad that people just accept it, and they've always got this excuse for everything to say somebody else did it. The context of this stuff,
what about
all of this stuff mixed together at the same time, of us seeing the man go to court. We've seen him go through our justice system. We've seen him get convicted by a jury of his peers. We've seen him be, we've seen him be found guilty for, for having a fake university and stealing people's money. We've seen him have thousands of lawsuits. We've seen him all of this time being mixed up with Epstein. We've seen all of this stuff. And so if we can't take the full package into context and go from, well, Joe Biden said they garbage too, to equate it to the same thing as Trump,
like the man said, you're going to get tired of winning if you follow. I want you to hear this, though. This is coming from Just Me in the comments. We were talking about Alligator Alcatraz and some of this other stuff. He says in all caps, they should have came in legally. In all the years he was here, he had years shaking my head off. Illegally get gone. So what he is saying is, if you're here illegally, there should be no outcry. You either come legally or you got to go. How do you respond to that?
Once again, he's not thinking about it in its entirety. A lot of those people were here legally. They were going through their immigration court proceedings. They were trying to attain citizenship. They had come into the country through ports of entry, some of them, and they were here illegally. Once he got in office, he changed the fucking rules.
Yeah.
He said all of these people that were here on protected status are now illegal. They fall into the illegal bucket. All of these people who were brought here, the Haitians were brought here, like by us, flown on planes. They are now being rounded up and sent back or put in these concentration camps. And they were here illegally.
They were here legally. They were here legally. Yeah.
We're not beefing. We're not beefing with the ones that committed heinous crimes and or sent to these people. But they are sending people to these detention camps like CCOT, where the worst criminals in the world are, and their only crime is crossing. American made it in the comments. In addition to saying America first, he's saying, but listen, they got denied by the court. So you got arrested at a court. You went to your court hearing, but the courts denied you. So now it's time to kick you out. So he's saying it, but they did get denied by the courts. Yes, if the administration changes.
Yeah.
Those people that were going to court, you know what the government told the courts?
What?
To dismiss their cases.
Yeah.
To dismiss their cases so they could catch them outside. They were not illegal. They were not even adjudicated by the courts.
Yeah, I don't think you have a chance to come here legally under the Trump administration. If you're coming across the southern border, any of them Hispanic countries down there, I don't know how you could come here legally outside of having a ton of money and buying your way in. Asylum is gone. My guess is it's going to be very hard to find companies to sponsor you. You can't marry your way in. I mean, I think he pretty much got rid of every way to come here legally that they could get rid of. I mean, we're not talking about coming across illegally. I'm talking about most of the legal ways to come here. He's gotten rid of most of that stuff too.
Right. And now he's bringing back the convict leasing system by saying the people that are in those concentration camps, because that's what they are. They're saying now that the farmers can check those people out and be responsible for them as their owners.
Maybe I'm going to defend Trump and say maybe that's bad language. I don't think Trump really wants American farmers to be able to own brown people. Is that what you're indicating?
I'm telling you what the man said on TV. He said we're going to roll out a program where they'll be able to keep the people.
I heard him say it, but I'm going to defend Trump and say I don't think he meant it. It sounds awful. I get it. It sounds awful. I don't think he meant that.
Now you want to add a little bit more context to what he said. The man said the owners. He said the owners will be responsible for those people.
Can I get a man at least a Freudian slip?
Look, you can't slip that many times. There's not that many. A Freudian slip is something.
Listen. I got a couple kids. You can slip a lot, okay? I'm just gonna tell you, you can slip.
Not when you're talking about slavery. Not when you're talking about indentured servitude. Talking about they're gonna pay them, but. He's talking about if they've been working on your farm for like 15 years and you know them, then you will be responsible for them.
But let me just ask you to get clarity. Do you really honestly believe Trump wants to let American farmers own people? Do you think that that's how he meant it? Or do you think it's closer to what I'm saying? It was a slip of the tongue.
No, I believe he wants those business people, just like he is one, because he's talking about that for the hospitality too. So that means those people that work at his golf courses and resorts will, yes, be under his ownership. You can call it what you want to. You don't have to call it ownership. You can call it what I said before, the leasing system.
So it's not involuntary. The person has no say. Once I own you, you don't get the chance to leave. I mean, I can do whatever I want with you. You believe that?
Well, I mean, you can give them the opportunity to leave, but how leave where? Those people, some of the people been here 15, 20 years. Yeah, where they gonna go?
I hope you're wrong. All right, DK. I hope you're wrong.
Convict leasing and indentured servitude, those people had a choice too, but there wasn't really a choice when you have nowhere else to go.
Yeah. I'm about to look that clip up and play it. I gotta move on, but man, you really depressing the hell out of me with that. I don't want nobody owning my ass. Shit.
And then we on here talking about have people lost empathy? You're damn right we lost empathy.
It's definitely looking that way, that we're lacking empathy in this country. It's definitely looking that way. But the liberals are doing it too. I mean,
you couldn't let it go. All right, man, I'm gone.
All right, then, Cal. I tried. You drive a hard bargain. Let me move it on. Real quick in the comments, None Useful says the recent bill allocates over $100 billion to ICE and border enforcement, $45 billion for detention centers, $29.9 billion in paychecks, maintenance, transportation through 2029. Here's what's crazy about that. Remember, we're going to bring money home. We're going to stop sending money to the Ukraine. We're going to stop sending money to USAID and other foreign entities because we wanted to help out Americans. Notice that Trump is in office. He's cut out all of that shit. And when do we get to the point where we're starting to help Americans out? Have you heard? I mean, there's a big, beautiful bill. No tax on tips for 2 years. And that's only capped at $25,000. I mean, I haven't been in a environment since I was in the union jobs, in the union trades, where I worked and earned overtime pay. But I'll tell you this, $25,000 in overtime ain't a whole lot. I mean, if you really go out there and work some real overtime, let's say you're making a base salary of 60, 70 grand a year, and you really work over, 25 grand is not that. I mean, they capped it at that. That's all you're not going to pay tax on tips or overtime, but it's capped at 25,000. So if you make 60, 70,000 a year, the majority of that's going to be taxed. Not to mention, in addition to that, it only lasts for 2 years. Whereas the stuff he's doing for the upper portion of our, the rich, I'll just say the rich, their shit lasts a lot longer. All of the stuff he does for the people at the bottom have caps and it expires really quick. But the stuff he does for the people at the top, it lasts for a long time. Why is that? I don't know, because people celebrating the no tax on tips like it's something huge. I don't see it, and not to mention, like I said, myself being an independent contractor, it doesn't change my life at all because I don't get tips and I don't get overtime. My guess is also if you start allowing more companies to put their employees on salary, you may start seeing a lot less Americans getting overtime too. I don't see it. And I see in the comments, Mr. Obetta says he made theirs permanent. I tried to bring up one of my viewers on Instagram. I don't know if it's allowing me to here. Adam Contreras, we'll give it a moment. By the way, tap the screen, get the likes on up if you're on TikTok. Smash that like button if you're on YouTube as well. Helps out the algorithm, brings in more MAGA. What do I say? We are MAGA friendly. Been that way since day one. We don't block, ban, or censor. Adam, good evening on Instagram. I'm going to say evening because I'm used to doing evening shows, but good morning, Adam.
Good morning. First time watching your stream. I have so much to rebuttal with some of the people you've, I guess, had speaking on your show. So I am unfortunately driving currently, so I'm going to be...
Let's get into it. Okay, give me what you got. What did you hear that you don't like? Now I'm assuming you lean right?
So I'm more center right. So I'm technically still a registered Democrat, but I cannot claim that party anymore.
When is the last time you voted for a Democrat in a national election? Did you vote for Trump all 3 times?
Obama.
Okay, so it's been 4 elections or more. Okay, so what have you heard so far that you disagree with?
Okay, let's start with everybody has opinions. For example, a lot of people in your show tend to have a good amount of opinions. Does anybody on your show have any experience working with government? I'm 14 years in the United States Army. I've had a top secret clearance. I've worked at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. I have worked in Al Udeid Air Force Base, housing Afghans.
Let me interrupt and tell you, the last guy who just hung up retired from the U.S. Navy. I got a lot of military and people would, a lot.
I have a ton of very recent military experience. I just got back from a deployment. I'm actually on leave right now. I've worked on the Texas border with several letter agencies. The last.
Okay, I got the resume. Now give me what you disagree with.
Okay, so a lot of people are having an issue with migrants and the cost of the housing of migrants, but they had no problem when it came to giving out benefits, such as Ukrainians that were essentially filing for asylum and coming to our country, collecting Social Security income they never paid into. You have immigrants coming into the country, collecting benefits they never paid into. And then you have people who, in my community, so I'm Puerto Rican, I live in New York, my family is very multicultural, but we work for everything we've ever had. I don't know if you saw one of my previous comments. There was a time in my life where I was working 40 hours a week, living in a car, and refused to take benefits because I was an able-bodied person.
Well, let me interrupt you let me stop you by saying immigrants are coming in the country taking benefits they never paid into. Do you realize how many immigrants pay into our system? If you work under a fake name, for instance, they take taxes out of your check that you can't file to get back. You realize how many immigrants are leaving money in the system and never getting it back?
Are they net taxpayers?
What?
Are they net taxpayers? As in they're paying more tax. So everybody gets an income tax. Everybody will pay into the system.
There are plenty of immigrants in this country that are working under the table that are not getting food stamps or any sort of assistance from the government. They're just paying taxes and getting nothing back for it. Yeah.
And those that are, such as, for example, I have a 93-year-old grandmother. We are Puerto Rican, so technically we're a Commonwealth. But when she immigrated to the United States, that was prior to when Puerto Rico was a Commonwealth. She came here and started working in a factory at 16 years old. So when you have those who are doing it the right way, I have family members that waited 25 years to get their citizenship, or they joined the United States military to fast track it. When you have tens of millions of people coming in and cutting the line, you have guys that have been waiting decades, and now they have to wait.
Well, but think about it there, Adam. Maybe if people didn't have to wait 25 years, they would be willing to stand in line.
So we should invest in the system and not just allowing people to cut the line. So why don't we take all the money we use on housing, deporting, and tracking down those who were, I guess, into the country, into fixing the system and having a better system.
Have you heard Trump saying he was trying to do anything at all to reduce the line or fix the system? All he's working on is deportation. By the way, can you explain the 59 South Africans who were allowed to cut the line?
Well, they were coming in because they were, apparently the 59 that came in under a circumstance of they had direct threats against their life.
You are of Hispanic descent, and you see the white South Afrikaners coming in the country because they have threats under their lives, but you're chastising the Hispanic community, and you don't see that.
I just thought that they were African. I wasn't aware that they were white.
Yeah, they're all white from South Africa.
I believe if you're fleeing an actual, if you claim asylum, you should be able to prove that there's an actual threat to your life. So, for example, they had pretty good documentation, and it was 49 personnel as opposed to the previous administration's 10 million they allowed in.
Wait, if you're running from a country that is trying, like when Venezuela, or let's take Haiti, for instance, when Haiti fell apart. How can you prove your life is in danger? There's no paperwork, there's no government that's going to give you anything. How can you prove it?
Perfect example, the Haitians, correct?
Yeah.
They did allow and they gave legal asylum to Haitians. Actually, I believe it was upwards of 50,000, was it not? Now, I believe they also took that population and dumped them into a rural area with no cultural assimilation. If you go into a town of 20,000 Hispanics and drop 50,000 Haitians in, how do you think that's going to play out?
Well, first of all, they didn't just hold on. They didn't just dump them into a town. There were businesses there that claimed they needed people to fill the jobs, and these folks were people they hired. They were wanted there by the corporations, just not by the citizens in that town. But they didn't just randomly dump them there.
So now we're valuing corporations over the citizenry and the constituents of the local town and government.
Have we ever not done that?
Well, here's the issue, right? So if I walk into a neighborhood that's not my neighborhood and someone says, hey, you shouldn't do this thing because people in this neighborhood might take it as disrespectful, I take the time to go through a cultural assimilation and learn. So I've been to several different countries. I've been deployed 5 times. And every time before deployment, I go and we take about a month to learn basic language.
Wait,
I had to learn how to
how
speak.
can you, if you truly are in fear of your life and you're running for your life, you don't have time for all of that.
You don't, but what you do have time for is to stay humble, learn the culture around you, embrace the culture, and then trade your culture and ideals and not essentially come into, I believe it was Ohio, I want to say.
Springfield, the town that Trump claimed they were eating cats and dogs.
Yeah, that's probably
a lie. It's probably a lie.
Probably a lie, but that's more like just saying people who are Chinese people eat cats. We all know that's probably not true, but I thought people were saying it.
Adam, it is the president of the United States during the national debate shown around the world. That is not like you or I joking about eating cats. It's not the same.
Trump is not politically correct. So I'm not a Trumper. I'm not a Trump fan. I like some of his policies.
He's breaking up. I'll give him a minute to clear. We may have to drop him. I don't like dropping people, but the signal is not clear. Adam, I may have to drop you. Your signal is not clear. Yeah. I don't know where you went or what you did. He was driving, but his signal is yeah. Yeah, Adam, I'm about to drop you. Your signal's all jacked up. Yeah. Okay, and unfortunately, I don't know how to. I'll turn that down and continue moving on until I figure out how to drop him because his signal is really bad there, as you can hear. We don't normally drop folks. We run an uncensored program, but if there's signal, something like that, then we can do it with it. Anyway, tap the screen and get the lights on up. Adam, if you can still hear the program, you pretty much were, what do I want to say? Your audio was gone. We couldn't understand. We couldn't, unintelligible? I'm about to say inedible. That's for food, but I'm having a Biden moment. Anyway, tap the screen, get the lights on up to 40,000. Adam, you can always come back later. Looking in the comments, let's try to miss anything. Thank you folks that are tuned in. Real quick here, I missed a super chat I did want to respond to if I can find it. There we go. Now Yusuf says the tax cuts for the 84 billionaire Americans are permanent. Yeah, I don't get why Trump does that, other than he's supporting rich people. All of the stuff you do for the folks at the bottom end of the socioeconomic scale have expiration dates. The stuff you do for the people at the top either lasts a lot longer or is permanent. And folks at the bottom are the ones that think you are looking out for them. He's clearly doing more for the rich than the poor. And I think the big, beautiful bill has made that obvious. You see some of the town halls, the Republican citizens, the Republicans' constituents and voters are going off on their Republican politicians. I think because Trump swore up and down they were not going to touch Medicaid or Medicare. There's all sorts of videos of him promising we're not going to touch that. They touched it. They touched it a lot. They absolutely. So once people start getting denied, I'm sure those clips will come up. People often suggest that the Democratic Party has no platform, no leaders, and they have no chance. I'm going to tell you, the Democrats don't always have to do anything. Sometimes the other party can move too far in its direction. People talk about the LGBTQ being shoved down the throats of kids and some of the things the Democrats are doing, which is what made people vote Republican. The Democrats went too far to the left, is what many suggest. Well, you can go too far to the right. You can do that as well. Bibles in schools and things like that. You know, you start talking about throwing women in jail for murder if they exercise pro-choice rights or whatever. You can go too far to the right. And that's kind of what's starting to happen. Real quick, Big Dog, yeah! Appreciate the hat and mustache. Thank you. The 1% pays 60% of the country's taxes. Bruno, you said the 1% pays 60% of the country's taxes. My guess is they probably have more than 60% of the country's wealth. They got the money. I mean, of course they pay more in taxes. That's who has all the damn money. They pay more in taxes. Looking in the cover, somebody's name, Mr. Luigi just followed me. Is that Maggiano? I do see somebody in the comments named Mr. Luigi. Says Mr. Luigi followed. Let me go back to the box. Mr. Luigi followed me. Teenagers who are not Christian are going to push back. I'm going to tell you something. The way things are going in this country, the number of teenagers that are not Christian is probably growing because they're seeing a bunch of deplorable activity by people who are claiming to be Christian. Folks that are okay with all of this ice and shit, as one of my viewers talked about, taking pictures on Alligator Alley and buying merchandise that says that, and then you're in church on Sundays. If you're Christian, I don't want to die and go in heaven and hang out with you. So my guess is you're probably growing that base. Continuing on with the program, though. Thank you, folks that are tapping the screen. We'll go to Sunflower. Good evening, Sunflower. Good afternoon, Sunflower. Welcome to the program. Hey, what am I getting wrong? What am I getting wrong this afternoon?
You're not really. I mean, it's the idea that empathy is kind of gone in America. It's how it feels. I'm down here in Florida, so I'm seeing it, and it's just disgusting. And then, watching even the president go on and say that they're going to be treating the people like they want the farmers to be responsible for the people and call them the owners of the people. It's crazy. Oh, that's sorry, my Alexa's going off.
So you do also believe that Trump, but that wasn't a slip of the tongue. You believe that Trump is promoting some modern day form of slavery.
Well, yeah, because once you make the farmer responsible for them, and you have people who are scared to be sent to places like El Salvador and stuff like that, you give the farmers full control over the people working their farms. What's the difference?
That's a good point.
The government is saying we're giving you full control because it's your responsibility to the people, without even saying what that is. Like, are you paying them fair wages? Are you making, or are they allowed to roam free? Or do they have to stay on the farm? Do you have to build housing for them on the farm and make sure they stay on your property?
That's a plantation, basically. That's a plantation.
Yeah. And he corrected himself to call them the owners,
Jeez.
So it's...
Why isn't this getting attention? Because we heard a lot of Biden slips, and MAGA was all over Biden slips. Why isn't this getting more attention? If he's talking something that sounds very similar to slavery, why? Because you don't hear MAGA saying anything about this at all.
No, but you got to remember too. He picks and chooses who's allowed to attend his news sources and stuff like that. And then the news people also risk not being invited anymore if they report anything bad. So we have a president who controls the press now.
Yeah, he is certainly getting to the point now where if you're in the press, you're probably afraid to go up against him because he's suing people, and he's insulting the hell out of people to their faces. It is a tough time to be the press covering President Trump.
Yeah, so I feel like that they tippy-toe around, and then also, a lot of people who aren't even allowed to come to the White House anymore to report. If you ask a bad question he doesn't like, you don't come back. You don't get to be a regular reporter anymore. And
it's interesting you would bring that up, because I remember during the Biden administration, you had I think his name is Peter Ducey, either Peter or Steve. One's the father, one's the son, but of Fox News. And he used to be asking Karine St. Pierre, Biden's spokesperson, all of these gotcha questions. He was asking her nothing but tough questions all the damn time. And they kept taking questions from this guy. They never stopped him from coming to the White House or kicked him out. But you are right. If you ask Trump a tough question, he's going to ridicule the hell out of you, and you probably will not be invited back.
Yeah, and the fact that people are just okay with that idea, and they'll defend it too. Well, they shouldn't have done that. They didn't have a right to ask that question. So the fact that the right side also condones it and accepts it, that's like a really big problem.
That's like the definition of what they normally refer to as a snowflake. You can't take tough questions. I mean, are you a snowflake?
Yep. And right now, as far as even when he's talking in the press conference about Alligator Alcatraz, and they're asking him about detainees, and then he thinks he's talking about him and how long he's going to be in Florida for. And he asked them to ask the question twice, and he answered it as if how long he's going to be personally staying in Florida versus how long the detainees are going to be held up in this place that no person should be held up in. And it's just disgusting. And the amount of people cheering on Facebook and hoping that these people get eaten by alligators is just disgusting.
Why do you think that is? Because you're right. People are, because first he was talking about reopening Alcatraz off the coast of San Francisco and indicating that, people who escaped in the past were bitten by sharks. So they do have this mindset, seemingly, that it's okay for bad things to happen to illegal immigrants. Same thing with the alleged drowning machines they had in the Rio Grande, whatever you want to call them, but people were drowning trying to get in the country. They do seem to be okay with a bad outcome happening to people who are trying to enter the country illegally, even if that outcome is death. Why do you think that is? Whoa, shit. Thank you, Ed.
Well,
go ahead.
When you look at, our history and the history of the world, people like that always existed that followed people who believed like that. So to think that these people don't exist in the world is crazy. When you look at another country back in the day that convinced a whole bunch of people to murder a whole bunch of other people, people were okay with that. Yes, you're going to have the ones who aren't, but you can't ignore how many people that were okay with that idea.
Do you think something like, obviously you're talking about Germany in the 1930s.
Yeah.
Do you think that could happen here in modern times?
It's possible. It's not, when you have somebody who can, we sit there and say, oh, this is unprecedented, or this is against the law, and that person continues to do it. And when they bend the law to fit themselves, because you can even look at our governor here in Florida, when they bend the laws to make it work in their benefit, it could happen, You get enough people that have problems and you convince them that other people are their problems, then, you could easily fall right into that.
So if you wanted to have a magic wand and turn back time, how do we get out of this? If we're getting to a point where we have no empathy for our fellow man, we're okay with up to and including death just because they entered the country illegally, or, like Albrego Garcia is here and he's allegedly affiliated with MS-13, so we're okay with sending him to a draconian prison where he did not have an exit date. So we were okay with sending him to prison for the rest of his life because he had MS-13 tattoos. How do we reverse this cycle of, I don't give a damn about my fellow man?
I think that was always there, right? We just now have a platform for it. I don't think that didn't exist in the past. When I hear people all the time, they're calling these people animals, right? Not because they did something that warranted it, like they hurt people, stuff like that. Just because they consider them in this country legally, that comes right out of their mouth. Oh, they're animals. I had to unfriend people that were talking like that because I'm like, well, what makes them like that? What did they do? I'm like, oh, they should have came into the country legally. That mindset is just there. And it's not that you can just take that mindset away, but you need somebody in charge who doesn't accept that.
Do you go, okay, if you take two people, one came in illegally and one came in legally, the person who came in illegally just turned into an animal? Michael J. Fox and Teen Wolf or something? I mean, like, why is it? I get coming here illegally is breaking the law, but where does the animal part come in?
That's the thing, though. It doesn't matter. You know, they don't see the difference between the two. It's like if you look at somebody who's religious that says all sin is the same sin. You know, whether you're a murderer or somebody who steals something, it's all the same, right? So they're taking it into that aspect of pretty much like no matter what the crime is, it's a crime, and you deserve the same level of punishment.
I don't get that because I'm going to bring up what the left often brings up is that Trump himself has 34 felonies and then he pardoned a host of criminals from January 6th. So is it really a concern about making sure you're law abiding? Because there's plenty of folks that broke the law that are orbiting around Trump. I mean, so all of a sudden when you're talking about the Hispanics, you need to follow the law. But if it's people he cares about, you know, suddenly, I mean, everybody from Sheriff Joe Arpaio on down, Trump has been favorable to plenty of folks who have not followed the law.
Well, if you look at this, when the conspiracy theories and all that stuff goes across, right? Everything's always Democrats are hiding, stuff like that, right? Look at Epstein, for instance, right? When that all went down, like, how come we're not seeing the list? How come this isn't happening?
It doesn't exist. According to Pam Bondi, the list doesn't exist now.
Yes, and now they just accept it, right? So
Well,
now it's like, yeah, well, I guess there wasn't. Even though Musk went out there and said Trump was on the list, all of a sudden this list doesn't exist anymore, right? And his followers just accept it. Like, they're too I think they're too deep in, they're too far in to go and say, hey, you know what, maybe we were wrong. Like, this is a problem, you know? I think they're just way too involved in the, hey, this is my team. I can't go against my team no matter how many times they kick the goal in the other direction.
Why do you think they just, because you're saying that, okay, because Elon, you're right. Elon said the reason Trump is not releasing the Epstein list is because he's on it. And you said MAGA just followed it. Why do you think that they would just blindly follow it, that the list doesn't exist like Pam Bondi is saying? Why do you think they would just do that?
I think the environment that was created around politics during the administration Trump's, like when he was running even for his first term, right? Because you always had, okay, your politics sides and what you believe and stuff like that, but it became more of a sporting event. And when you look at it like that and how people will support, you know, your favorite football team, you can move to a whole other state and still support the team that you grew up with.
True.
And they could suck. They could be like, you know, fumbling the ball all the time, not scoring any goals. They never win a championship, never do anything. But you're going to support them no matter how bad they do because you've owned them. Like, you own them as part of your life.
So they're just so locked in that even if Trump does something wrong, they can't let go.
Yes. And you know that because when you have debates with them, you talk with them, and they're telling you things that they don't like in general, and when you can literally play videos of that happening, they're like, it's not that bad, you know?
How do you get voters? Hell, I would run for office if I'm jealous of Trump. How do you get people to lock into you even when you're doing things as wrong as you say?
Well, think how many people he invited to his table through an open platform, right? Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. How many people can say, hey, I have the ear of the president, right?
That's a good thing.
He used that in his benefit, and the Democrats were silly for not doing the same, right? Because let's say if I'm a supporter, I feel important. I'm going to type something directly to his page. Maybe he'll read it. Maybe one of his people will read it. But outside of that, before that, I didn't have direct access to a president. You know, I didn't feel like I mattered. You know what I'm saying? So he gave that platform for people to matter, which is a good thing if you use it the right way.
And that's something I do like about Trump is he gets on TV every day and talks to the people. You don't always say what's true, but I think just like you're saying, it's good that you come on and talk to the people. I got to move it on, Sunflower. Is this our first time talking?
Third time.
Appreciate having you on. Come on back anytime. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
Much love. All right, moving on with the program. By the way, tap the screen, folks. Get your boy on up to about 60 thou, Thou. We can certainly make that happen if you let your thumbs not be lazy. None useful says the greatest transfer of wealth, 84 trillion, is happening in the next 20 years. Jesus. Now, they still look back to the Reagan era for things that are good and bad. If that happens, as none useful was saying, that we're transferring, because right now there's already a huge, colossal disparity between rich and poor in this country. And if you're going to try to impose that on top of it, man, 20 years from now, we're going to all be in tiny homes, if what he's saying is true. I mean, you talk about we need to stop going to college and getting deep in debt and maybe go back into trades and shit like that. I don't think anybody's going to be doing too much higher learning if it's as bad as what None Useful was saying. And there are many folks that agree with him. 84 trillion, wow. That's bad. I mean, isn't that the notion we all want our children to grow up to live a better life than we did? I don't think we can guarantee that anymore. Getting a home and pursuing the American dream, a couple of nice cars in front of the crib for you and the wife or you and the spouse. I don't think we can agree. I don't think we can feel confident that's going to happen anymore. There's a reason why the Klan endorsed Donald Trump, says Eli Cianes. Did they really? Now, I know David Duke did in 2016, but is there any, because the Triple K is not really around in any large numbers anymore, are they? Really? I haven't heard that. Looking in the comments, we'll continue on. The Klan, huh? Wow. Andy, welcome to the program. Thank you folks that are tapping the screen. Get your boy up to about 60,000. We can make that happen if you let your thumbs not be lazy. As always, we are indeed MAGA friendly. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. I don't get as many MAGA callers. We don't run from MAGA. We give you plenty of time to state your case. We're not going to block, ban, or censor you because you got a difference of opinion. So if you're watching on TikTok or Instagram, feel free to come on up. Andy, good afternoon.
Hello, what do you mean? Donald Trump has literally recreated the Confederacy. The Triple K is still out there, they just have new names.
What are their names?
Moms of Liberty.
Moms of what? I haven't heard much about the Moms of Liberty recently either.
Well, they're still here in Alabama. They're all over the country. What do you think those guys are with damn things on their heads yelling we would not be replaced?
Yeah.
Even after Trump's 2024 election, there was a where'd you go? There was a professor that says historians and politicians, here we go. The Confederacy won. Emory University professor Carol Anderson declared that Trump's 2024 re-election, that the Confederacy won. The kind of racism, xenophobia, and hatred all wrapped in a sense of honor and gallantry. I
hear what you're saying, but I got so many MAGA, even black MAGA, that'll say Trump has done a hell of a lot more for the black community than the Democratic Party. So, I mean, if Trump is as racist as you're suggesting, why does he have...
Some of them said slavery didn't even exist, so I don't want to hear about that.
That is true.
Because when they'll tell me that slavery didn't exist in America, and I know damn good and well it did, I have a hard time believing anything else comes out of their damn mouth.
Yeah, but what about the notion that even black MAGA are still heavily supporting Trump?
What percentage of the population is that? And I can't speak on your community. That is for you to talk,
I'm not black MAGA. I get what you're saying, but I'm not black MAGA.
You believe that Donald Trump is a great con man. And he has fooled a whole bunch of people.
No.
Just not all of it.
Yeah, but he's in office
It'll
now.
say you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all of the time. That's where he's at.
I see the comments.
He gets to the point to where we cannot fool all of the people all of the time.
Well, I mean,
And look,
do you think he's lost significant support since he's been in office for 6 months? We've seen where he's taken the country. You think people are jumping ship?
well, I've seen more pale people protesting in Alabama than I've ever seen.
Probably because of that
I'm
Medicaid.
assuming they're not all Harris supporters.
Is it mostly due to Medicaid?
Because if there were, the election would have gone different, huh?
Is it mostly due to Medicaid cuts?
No, some of it had to do with farmers, and even some of the people who voted right, not the ones on this app, but they think he's gone too far.
Here's what
They told me that he's supposed to take criminals and bad people, but now they're pulling out University of Alabama students for a damn, office mistake. Like, if we're going to go through and kick everybody out over mistakes, in the bureaucracy, we're screwed. Like, nobody stands a chance of anything if a simple clerical error will do you in.
But here's what I don't get, because you say you're in Alabama and you're seeing pale people protesting. Trump ran on a campaign of going after people, whether it's his adversaries in politics, whether we talked about his illegal immigrants, whether we're talking about getting rid of money going to the Ukraine. We knew Trump was going to run a campaign or become president.
Wait, did you see Donald Trump? Was it on Axios? Shaking Putin's hand, being like, there's a picture on Axios that says we've changed sides and had Trump and Vladimir Putin on cover.
This is recent.
Mm-hmm.
Has he even met with Vladimir Putin recently?
I don't know, but I know that was on the headline of, like, Donald Trump is trying to play both ends against the middle, and that's not going to last for very long. I mean.
No, I think that Zelensky, due to Zelensky's persistence, I'm talking about the president of the Ukraine, I think he has made it so that even most of the world realizes who the victim is in the Ukraine. Only Trump and MAGA, outside of, other than maybe Belarus, a close ally of Russia, outside of that, the whole world realizes who is the aggressor in that, other than Trump and MAGA, which obviously is probably because Trump has some kind of relationship with Putin that he doesn't want to get in it. But I don't think we have any NATO member allies or anybody. I haven't heard Netanyahu give his opinion on it, but I don't think even he is siding with Russia on that. Other than MAGA, everybody realizes who's wrong there.
When you were talking about immigration and they were screaming, all these people shouldn't come here, maybe the United States, just maybe, we should quit destabilizing their nations. Almost all of those are destabilized nations by the United States.
No, and before we continue, I see in the comments, hold on, before we continue.
El Salvador, Venezuela, Guatemala, like, we have fucked around and destroyed all that. Yeah, and now we're mad that we destroyed where they live and they want to live here. Damn, how arrogant are we?
We're a very arrogant country. I see in the comments, though, Cedric Haney said, I don't know who the aggressor is in that war. The difference is MAGA doesn't care. It's not our war to fight. That's not true. You do care. Trump is on TV blaming the Ukraine for starting the war. He didn't say, I don't care. He literally blamed them for starting it. So you kind of getting that one wrong. So...
They are under the, like, they have even been telling me, like, I don't know, I grew up in the 80s with Red Dawn and all the movies, like James Bond, all making Russia the bad guy. Like, there is no chance in hell I'm going to look at Russia and go, oh, they're our ally. There are people coming up on this app telling me that, oh, well, we've been doing Russia wrong. Russia has been actively fucking with us for years. During the 2017 Donald Trump administration, first time he was in office, Russia hacked in with solar winds and made a major hack on the United States, one of the biggest hacks in history. Got into the infrastructure, stole all kind of shit. So, no, they're not our friend. Y'all go away forever.
If I'm
cheering for Putin, that's some bullshit.
If I'm correct, though, we under the Bill Clinton administration hack into the Russian election and try to stop Putin from rising to power. I mean, we interfere with stuff. So, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. We are enemies with Russia. I don't disagree with that at all. We are enemies to Russia.
Russia and say they were America's friend, I wouldn't. See, because I'm smarter than that. I would know that our countries have some serious damn beef. And look, there's a guy in the comment, oh, Andy gets her movies from 80s movies. No, that was the culture of the day, sir. Yeah. I just happen to know that the entire 80s, I had to hide under my desk because the teachers told us that, Russia threatened us with a big boom boom. Like hiding under our damn desk was going to do any good, but it made the teachers feel good. So, sir, the fact that you say that just shows that you are another sympathizer for the wrong fucking side.
I don't know what made us, other than Trump, what made us start saying that Russia's not an enemy? Because you're right,
Trump and hit.
Yeah, because George W. Bush was definitely viewing Russia as an enemy. He said, I looked into Putin's eyes and saw it so. George W. Bush saw him as an enemy too. I don't know what made Trump.
Everybody sees him as an enemy, except Donald Trump, who's funny, should get all this money from Deutsche Bank in the 80s when he was busted and had shit. Because, they think Trump's a self-made man. They have no idea how much infusion of money Deutsche Bank has given him throughout the years. Matter of fact, I think when he was running the first time, he was still $400 million in debt to Deutsche Bank. So y'all are out here simping for a man because Donald Trump owed that fucker money. That's hilarious.
Well, they believe Trump has the best vision for America, though, Andy.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they
They
do.
just hate Democrats. No,
Well,
they
that
hate
too.
Democrats. And he's the one that'll say he hates Democrats. They fucking don't think he has a good shit. You ask them about policy, because I do. I try not to demonize. I try to talk to them about policy. You know what they tell me? I don't know about his policies. I just know I feel. Motherfuckers say I feel more than anybody I've ever met in my life.
I thought the Republicans, I thought MAGA was known as saying facts over feelings.
Yeah, I used to too, and they called us snowflake. But now they get up on our panels, fucking crash out in a minute and a half. You ask them a question and start calling us damn names and racial epithets. It's fucking ridiculous.
Well, I go in MAGA forums all the time, and I mean, I do get called some names, but I just like talking to MAGA.
See,
But
look, Democrats are destroying America. No, we're not. We're trying to pick up the pieces of what you're shattering and don't even realize you took a hammer to. This is how dumb America is currently.
But what about, okay, Lori in the comments says, most of us voted for Trump because we went on under the Biden administration. In other words, they believe Biden was destroying the country.
Wait,
So
what went on? No, they can't never tell me what went on either. I asked them that too.
I can tell you. I can answer that.
Biden administration.
I can answer
because
that.
we got through the pandemic. We had a little bit of inflation after the pandemic, but other than that, nothing major went on. There's some damn projects to help the whole damn United States, like the infrastructure plan, the PACT Act, the CHIPS Act. He didn't do anything devastating to the United States, and all those people that came around, we've been holding there for 18 months. For 18 months, the border was closed under the Biden administration due to his pet Title 42, and for almost a year under Trump's. So yeah, there was a backlog of damn people. That's called common sense and critical thinking. Y'all need to learn how to do that. And then once all these people came through, it went back down to a ticker. So no, he didn't do jack shit to the United States.
I could put on my MAGA hat and counter a lot of that by saying, when you say Biden didn't do anything to the United
States. Go ahead.
Okay, well, let me go ahead.
I've been fucking with them all week. Go right ahead.
All right, well, first of all, they're going to suggest that he was getting us to a point where we couldn't even tell what a damn woman was. He was letting women in women's sports play against men. That's something Biden was.
He didn't do that.
I'm just telling you what they.
He didn't do that.
I'm just telling you what they think.
Wait. People in the United States who were living their lives and doing things, were doing this stuff, and because Biden didn't make it illegal, because he believes in freedom, for the people, then and since they're 1% of the population, I don't think most of these people bitching about them has ever seen a transgender person. I don't.
I'm just telling you what they think, Andy. They believe that
That's another one. They're just hating to be hating.
Under Biden, nobody felt safe. You got people coming in the country, they've not been vetted, the borders are open, you got crime rising in all of the cities.
As many 2A rights as they have, if they don't feel safe with all these immigrants coming in, that's a them problem. They need to go see a shrink. I don't know what to tell them.
I'm just telling you.
Because they got more weapons in this country than anywhere. So with all their boom booms, if they don't feel safe, I think that's a them problem too. Once again, freedom and what happened to freedom?
Speaking of freedom, under the Biden administration, not only did he orchestrate some of them, he was a fan of some of these mask mandates and shit. You can speak your opinion online without being censored under Biden.
Wait. That was the CDC. That wasn't the Joe Biden.
Yeah.
That was the CDC, who we have a public health mandate, who we've had since Washington. Even Donald Washington was worse to his troops. He inoculated them, not vaccinated them. Can you imagine being in George Washington's army and being given a disease to see if you live through it so you can stay in the army? And these people whine about this shit. I don't know. I don't think they.
I'm just telling you how the people feel. I'm just telling you how the people feel.
Realistically, they wouldn't have made it through 1776. So next.
I'm just telling you how the people feel. You can disagree with them. I'm telling you.
I understand that. But I'm telling them that if that's the way they feel, then they should live in a country that doesn't give a shit about their health. Because I didn't see America chaining people in their house like other countries. I didn't see America throwing people in prison for breaking the damn mandate like other countries. Americans have become crybabies. Every little thing makes them want to whine. I am sorry, if you can't get your shit together in America 2025, that's on you.
Well, they got their shit together, and they got the president they believe is capable of doing that.
Well,
they feel that we are now respected on the world stage. Under Biden, they didn't even feel like the country was respected. Under Trump, they feel like we're respected worldwide now.
He didn't win with more votes than Joe Biden lost by, like, this is the whole deal. Joe Biden's like only got more votes because he was a man, and the Palestinian people, I understand why they felt the way they did, but a lot of them set the fuck out or voted third party. It's not that Trump got all this huge surge of voters. What, he got a few extra?
He won, Andy. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. He won.
The demographic.
Yeah,
those are uneducated Americans who never voted before.
I don't care about all that. At the end of the day, he won. Period. He won the election. He's the president.
Well, and I'm going to tell this to America. Next time, don't sit your ass on the couch. Get your fucking ass up and vote so we don't have to deal with fascism again, because a bunch of you lazy people are the reason why we're dealing with this shit today. Like Alabama, you think Alabama's red? Nope, Alabama's a non-voting state. Alabama stays red with only 30% of the vote because most of the people in Alabama feel like their vote don't matter. But realistically, if they got their asses off the couch and went and voted, they could change everything. So we need to get over empathy and apathy in America. Get some empathy and act like we care.
All right, Andy. Appreciate you coming through. Thank you. Always a pleasure.
See, I told you I am on them this week because Tommy Tuberville said he wants to be governor of Alabama. The man who don't know the three branches of government, who said he got conned by 3 pyramid schemes. This man wants to be governor of Alabama. No, I am ready for MAGA.
You were ready. You were ready when it came to thinking the women were going to stand up after the abortion bans, and you were wrong. They voted for Trump.
I made my mistake, but you know the difference between me and MAGA? I own my mistake, didn't I? I came in here and stood up and said I fucking own that shit, and I won't make that mistake again.
All right.
See, they keep making it.
We'll see what happens. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to the program. By the way, tap the screen. I have to get to 60,000. A lot of lazy thumbs in here. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 60,000. We'll take the next caller at 60. You can make probably 65 if you really show your boy some love. Tap the screen, get the likes up. Same thing if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Instagram as well, we take the callers. If you're wondering how do you call in, Instagram or TikTok. So if you got either one of those platforms, same name across all platforms, The Handsome Liberal. Clapper, if you use Clapper, I've been trying to go back to, does anybody use Rumble still? Because I have that as well. I don't think anybody uses. None Useful says, would you come back to work after you were thrown out? I say, hell no. We deserve everything you voted for. That's the notion of would the farmers come back to the United States after how we treated them and kicked them out. I think some would. I think it depends on how desperate their situation is. But I think I say this across all avenues. I think Trump has shown that you can't really trust the United States. And I'm not just talking about from an immigration standpoint. Because he's right. I don't know if I would want to come back to the country after ICE treated me like shit and kicked me out either. But I'm talking about Paris Accord, Iran deal, NAFTA, talking about how he threatened NATO. I'm just simply saying Trump has shown that if you enter into an agreement with America, you can't trust them to honor that agreement. There's nothing stopping the next president from coming along and saying, you know, that deal you made with the last president, I think it's a bad deal. We're just going to break it. Trump has shown that the word of America is not valid. I'm not saying that maybe he wasn't right, some deal was wrong, or maybe maybe NAFTA wasn't the best for the United States, or, you know, maybe NATO wasn't ripping us off, or maybe the Iran deal, whatever. Just because he's right, don't mean you just violate the word you have given on the world stage. Trump has shown that our word is not good. He has shown that. Why would you make a deal with Trump if the next president can just break it under the guise of, I think it's a bad deal? So from this point on, like I mentioned with Iran, I think Iran would be stupid to enter into any agreement with Trump, because they entered into one with Obama and Trump just broke it. Okay, so the next guy that comes along from Trump, how do we know he's not going to break it as well? I just believe your word is your bond. If you made an agreement to do something, you honor that fucking agreement. You don't reassess what you did after you signed on the dotted line. Well, I'm going to change it now. we would not have accepted Iran changing the deal. That to me is and I'm surprised so many MAGA was okay with that. Which to me it shows that the integrity part is off. Look, it's a bad deal Obama made. Let's see if we can buy Iran or make some kind of other deal with Iran to get them to backtrack off, whatever. But you can't just fucking break it out of thin air like that. And like I said, I've seen a hell of a lot of MAGA that was favorable to that. And what they don't understand is when the next guy comes along and just breaks all of Trump's deals, they're not gonna like it. They're just not gonna like it like that. But you cheered it on when Trump was doing it, so it is what it is. Every country there ever was has healthy disparities. Bipolar Bear, I think you're talking about, you said every country there has ever been has a wealth disparity. Yeah, I don't think that is an excuse to do it here. A lot of countries around the world have a history of slavery. That don't mean it's okay to do it here because other countries are doing it. Think about how many countries out there that have gun laws. You don't want that, do you? So you can't pick and choose when I want to say other countries are doing this. Most other free countries around the world do not allow you to just own all of the weapons you can in America. Most free first world free countries do not let you have the gun ownership you have in America. So there goes your most countries argument. You don't want it now, do you? But it's okay when you're using it to your benefit. Real quick in the comments before we continue on, and thank you folks that are tapping the screen, getting us towards 60,000. The aggressor in that conflict was the Ukrainian diver, now wanted by German authorities for sabotaging the Nord Stream pipeline. No. I don't even think Russia, Bipolar Bear, I love the name, I don't even think Russia claimed that a Ukrainian diver bombed the Nord Stream pipeline as a reason for why they invaded them. They didn't even use that excuse. You're trying to blame the Ukrainian war on the Ukrainians by suggesting they had some diver bomb a fuel pipeline. The Russians have never even claimed that. I don't think there's any validity to that at all. Otherwise, the Russians would have said that when it happened and used it. They were actually using mercenaries, the Wagner group. They were invading the Ukraine, just like America, what we just did with Iran the other week. They were actually committing an act of war while denying that they were committing an act of war. We committed an act of war with Iran and tried to deny it was an act. Well, it's just a conflict. It's a fucking act of war. You're bombing installations on a sovereign country. But nobody died. Who gives a fuck? You're telling me that if a neighborhood in America, everybody was gone, and some other country just bombed the whole neighborhood, but no loss of life took place, we wouldn't consider that an act of war? You can strike anything you want in America as long as you don't take a life. That's an act of war. The idea that we tried to say it was not as insane. But yeah, I definitely think that people try to reword things for their benefit. And that's what Russia was doing. They were using the Wagner group to invade the Ukraine. And the folks did not have any uniforms on or any markings on to identify themselves as Russian. We had people in that country at the time. We knew who they fucking were. But the Russians were denying that they existed. No, we're not in that country. Yeah, you are. We know who these people are. Anyway, looking in the comments, Non-User says Trump gave the first pole dancer a genius status to U.S. citizenship. Under ICE policy, she should be deported. That is one first lady known as Melania Trump. She has a visa known as I think it's called an Einstein visa. She doesn't have the qualifications to get that visa. But because we like her, talking about the MAGA side of it, well, she is an artist, just making up shit she was showing her body off naked. You don't get an Einstein visa because you know how to show your titties. But because we like her, we'll give her a pass on it. But yeah, technically, if you want to say that you should enter this country legally and you should do things right, Melania Trump should be deported. I mean, if you're going to go by this real tough stance that you got to enter the country legally, Melania Trump is here on the wrong visa. She should not be allowed to stay based on that. And she almost certainly skipped the line. She almost certainly did not go through the proper procedure. Obviously she didn't wait 20 years. She didn't go through the proper procedure. She got to skip the line. And then she got to stay here. And I see the comments, Tori Ann says she speaks 5 to 6 different languages. Speaking multiple languages don't guarantee you entry into America. You know how many folks coming across the southern border speak multiple languages? That don't allow you, that ain't something that gives you entry. This is what I'm talking about. We like Melania, so we're making up excuses for why she should be able to do what we would not accept from anybody else. You're making excuses for her. Doesn't matter that she speaks multiple languages. That ain't what the Einstein visa's about. Not to mention, she's not out there working as an interpreter. If she came over speaking multiple languages and she was, working with the troops or something, that's different. She ain't doing none of that. So it doesn't matter what kind of skill she has in speaking multiple languages. She's not using it to benefit America in any way, shape, or form. Biden's not responsible for things under his administration, but Trump's responsible for everything he does. Well, bipolar bear, and I just keep liking the name, but and that works in reverse. Under the Biden administration, the liberals are going to try to make it excuses for Biden. Trump is president right now, and the right is making excuses for everything he does. So I agree with your statement to some degree. It is what is referred to as politics. Almost at 65,000. We'll take the next caller. I do want to play this clip from Trump. This is what people's been talking about. I haven't heard this in its entirety, so I do want to hear this. What does that say? Bruno Pernalt says, you want to go up against her in a test. They got shit to do with it. Simply having intelligence. Okay, you're suggesting that Melania Trump is smarter than me. Maybe she is. That's not a gateway to entering America. If you're intelligent, but you're not using your intelligence for any beneficial point in terms of America, no corporation sponsored her. She's not using it for the military. I don't give a damn how intelligent she is or how many languages she speaks. It's not helping out the U.S. You don't that's not an excuse you're making up whatever you can to let her in. You wouldn't accept that some Hispanic that came in the country was intelligent. He spoke 5 languages, but he ain't doing shit for the country. That's not an excuse. You're making up excuses for why it's okay to let his wife in and skip the line.
But you're going to do something that we're going to sort of put the farmers in charge. And if a farmer's been with one of these people that work so hard, they bend over all day. We don't have too many people can do that, but they work very hard and they know them very well. And some of the farmers are literally, they cry when they see this happen. If a farmer is willing to vouch for these people, in some way, Christy, I think we're going to have to just say that's going to be good, right? We're going to be good with it, because we don't want to do it where we take all of the workers off the farms. We want the farms to do great like they're doing right now.
I didn't hear him use the word ownership, though. Somebody said he said something about owning immigrants. I didn't hear that. He is saying vouch. Vouch can cause a problem in itself, but I didn't hear ownership. I believe that's out there. I can't find a clip to hear that. But somebody said he talked about letting. No, there's no more to it, Mike. That's the end of that particular clip. And that's on ABC News affiliate in some city in America. But I want to hear the ownership part, because, yeah, that's what sounds like slavery. So if somebody can find that clip, let me see it. Anyway, let me go back to the comment section here. We get to 65,000? Not yet. Continuing on, President Trump has spoken about farmers having responsibility or being in charge of immigrant laborers. This does not equate to suggesting farmers would own them, says Will Sim. That's what I'm saying. I don't hear the ownership part. But I will say this. I'm going to challenge the MAGA side of the aisle and say this. If you are an immigrant and you're wanting to get in this country, and the government is depending on the farmer to, quote unquote, vouch for you, that still gives you a whole lot of power as a farmer. Because let's say, for instance, I do something to you. Maybe it's sexual. Maybe I beat you. Maybe I work you too hard. Maybe I don't pay you enough. Maybe I don't feed you enough. I can tell you, you can complain all you want, but remember, they're dependent on me to vouch for you. If I go in there and say the wrong thing, you're going back. So it does give me a significant amount of power over you. It ain't ownership. It's not ownership. But if you want to stay and your remaining in America is dependent upon me vouching for you, then you do need to keep me happy. You do. So if I do something wrong to you and you go and complain, then I'm not going to vouch for you anymore. You got to go. And you know already that he's making it clear, if you don't have nobody to vouch for you, you can't stay. So even if I do something criminal, yeah, you can go complain about me to the cops, but that don't mean your ass going to be able to stay. You might not even be around at the trial you hoping to get on me. Nobody's going to vouch for you. And once you become a snitch, I'm going to make sure the whole farming community knows that you don't know how to keep your mouth shut. See how this could work? See how this, if you're gonna believe that what I just stated has an impossibility of happening, then you're kind of closing your eyes to how this could work. But yeah, I mean, you could literally be blackballed. If you're gonna go and snitch on me for not giving you a meal last night, or spanking you across the bum for not picking the fruit fast enough or something, you go snitch on me, I'm gonna make sure the whole farming community knows what type of person you are, and maybe they should go a different direction when it comes to vouching for an immigrant in the future. You'll never be back here in America again. You want to tell me that can't happen? So yeah, I'm not saying it's necessarily all down the road of slavery, but it does give you a significant amount of power over that immigrant. Dencal says he's trying to bring back slavery. Creed, he did say that, but he based it on Trump talking about ownership. I need to hear that clip. Did Trump use the word own? Did anybody hear that? Did anybody? Because I'm trying to find it. I can't find Trump talking about owning immigrants. MAGA intoxicated with Trump's diaper juice. Damn. Nothing useful. He says MAGA is intoxicated with Trump's diaper juice. Yuck. Oh, that's gross. All right, let me continue on. Did we get to that 65? Jesus Christ, diaper juice. First, the farmers. Who's next? Where does it stop? Said, well, they talk about black jobs. So, I mean, heck, it could go anywhere. I'm just going to tell you that. Jesus. Continuing on, Chris, welcome to the show. These little boys in the comments show who's for Trump. It's slow. Okay. All right, Chris, good evening. Or good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tim.
Hey. What am I getting wrong today? I like to hear where am I screwing up on this now? What am I saying that?
I think you're doing pretty good. I think you pretty much hitting it on a hammer, to be honest.
Do you think Trump, do you see it like some folks believe that Trump is indicating that he wants to kind of bring back a virtual form of slavery with these people?
No, I can't see that. I don't see the evidence. As far as he's saying letting the farmers take over, but I mean it can go that way, but directly I don't see it. Indirectly it can happen,
Now I get viewers all the time that say Trump is, I mean, for lack of a better, I just say bigoted. You know what I'm getting at. Do you see any of that in Trump?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So you do see him as bigoted or racist or something like that?
To a degree, yeah.
Explain why you have that mindset.
His past, all you have to do is research his past in the 70s, is all evidence.
How do you respond to folks who suggest that he's done for blacks like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, and he allocated money to HBCUs? A man is claiming he's done more for blacks than anybody since Abraham Lincoln.
Blacks, okay, that's blacks. Okay, what about what he's doing now? You have to look at what he's doing now, and how he targeting Hispanics, how he targeting people from certain countries other than Europe. You don't see anything.
But when you say he's targeting people of color, he's targeting Hispanics. Folks would suggest that he's only trying to get people out of this country that are either harmful to the nation or here illegally. You say he's targeting people. Elaborate on that.
Okay, why haven't we seen them rounding up people, say in New York, that come from Europe? Okay, let's talk about Europe. Okay, Western Europe, Eastern Europe, a lot of them are in New York and on the East Coast. Okay, why ain't ICE over there?
Do we have a lot of Western Europeans that here illegally?
I believe so. I believe so, and I believe a lot of them been here for decades.
I haven't heard much. I mean, listen, if that's the case, you got a good argument. But I haven't heard, even on the left, people really yelling out that there's a whole lot of Western Europeans that are here illegally. I haven't even heard them saying that.
Nobody's talking about it. I don't. That's what I don't understand. That's what I don't understand. A lot of them been here for decades. What I'm saying, 30, 40, 50 years, and never became a citizen. They just here at a piece of shop or whatever, working, whatever. You know.
Yeah.
They got connections. They got connections to their community, so they to survive. You know, working under the table.
But let's be honest. I mean, in regards to wondering why it seems to be more brown people, there are far more folks here undocumented or illegally that are brown. Would you not agree?
I can't agree with that because I don't know. Okay, I can't. I don't know for a fact that's true. So no, I can't agree with that. You know, listen to the media. That's what I guess we going by what the media say. I don't know.
I mean, even if you look at the people that were coming here when Biden was in office, you know, they had to migrate, the caravans and things like that. Most of them people were brown. You don't see caravans of white people coming to the country. There may be a few sprinkled in the brown caravans, but like you don't see, when is the last time you saw a ship full of migrants, full of white people showing up to, let's say, Martha's Vineyard or something? I mean, it's you got to assume based on what we've seen over the last few decades that most of them are brown.
Yeah, I'll tell you like this, Tim, and this is the honest truth, and you know this, and everybody know this. It's easier to get in this country coming from Europe than it is coming from Asia or South America or Africa. It's much easier to get in this country and become a citizen if you from Europe.
Yeah.
And it's a proven fact. Look at Ellis Island. Look at Angel Island. Research both of those, and you will see Ellis Island. They were able to get in here in 5 hours. 5 hours they were releasing to the public. Angel Island, it make 2 weeks, a month.
Well, there are time periods throughout history where it was easy to get here as a Hispanic too. It's just not now. Under the Biden administration, for instance, if Kamala Harris had won, people who are brown would have been able to say, I got it here just as easy as some of the people you just named. It's just we elected a leader that went against it.
That's possibly true.
I mean, think about it. If you came here during a caravan under the Biden administration and Kamala Harris had followed him, meaning that now they're going to be in power all the way to 2028, them people would have been able to say, I came here just as easy as all the folks you're naming. It ain't that it's hard coming here as a brown person. It depends on who's in power. Because the Democrats would let brown people in pretty easy. The same thing with the migrants in Springfield. They came in, they're already working, they were gainfully employed and everything. All of a sudden we elect Trump and it's like back to the war zone you go.
So you saying it depends on the who's in charge, the leadership. Yeah.
I'm saying that it's not necessarily easier to come here as a white immigrant. It's easier to come here when the Democrat is in charge of the country.
And getting processed. I'm talking about legally getting processed. You come here, you get legally processed, and then they set you free. You know, here.
I mean, even if you look at the broken immigration system we have entirely, if you wanted that system to be fixed so that we can streamline and move people faster, a Democrat's going to do that. I mean, the Democrats are just a more immigrant-friendly party than the right is.
Yeah, you might have a point there. Yeah. That's
so.
True.
I mean, you're going to get more deportations on the right. You're going to get more folks allowed to stay coming from the left.
Right. Nowadays. That's nowadays.
Yeah.
Because now we can go back to 1890 up to 1920.
Well, yeah.
That's a 30-year or 40-year span. You had Democrats and Republicans. The same scenario was it's easier coming from Europe than it is from Asia.
Well, let's make it clear. Really, it shouldn't even be comparing right and left. It should be comparing Trump and all of the rest of the presidents. Because Bush is coined for saying the phrase, they'll do jobs no Americans want. I believe Ronald Reagan gave thousands of them amnesty. It's just Trump. Trump came along and suddenly he was just, and by the way, because some folks try to often suggest that, well, the only reason why he's like that is because Biden let so many people in. Now, he was like that when he took office after Obama, too, and Obama was allegedly deporting everybody. When Trump came in 2016, he was anti-immigrant then, too. shithole countries, Muslim ban. He was hardcore anti-immigrant from the moment he got in the White House.
But you have to realize what countries he's targeting. Let's
okay, I'll give you that. Let's
be honest. He's definitely not targeting not one country from Europe.
Yeah, that's specific. Yeah, that's specifically to Trump.
It's obvious. It's obvious.
Yeah, I'll say this. I don't think that it's easier to get in the country necessarily as a white immigrant. Probably a little bit easier, but I do believe it depends on who's in charge. And under Trump, I definitely believe under Trump, being a white immigrant would probably be worth some points. But that's Trump specifically.
I'm thinking no matter who the president, I believe you can get in here easier from Europe. I don't care who president. It's just easier coming from Europe. Now, I do agree, as far as coming from South America or Africa, it depends on who's the president. You may get in easy, you may not. But Europe, you're going to get a pass. You're going to get a free, easy pass no matter who is the president.
I want to say, in regards to Europe, we do obviously have a lot of allies in Western Europe. But if you're coming from Eastern Europe, I don't quite totally agree with you there. Coming from Western Europe, Italy, Spain, all these countries that we have, an alliance with, it's going to be easier to get there. I mean,
it's going to be easy.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. But also, too, most of them coming here are not dirt poor. I mean, we are a country we're more friendly. In fact, most first world countries, they're more friendly to immigrants coming from first world countries. Like when I lived in Australia, that was one of the things I noticed. When people would see me, sometimes you could see that look of disdain on their eyes. But when they heard me speak, they realized, oh shit, he's first world. He ain't here to take our resources. He's American. And you can just see the change on their face from that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the Europeans are generally not here where we feel like they're a threat to resources. I get the race. It sounds shitty as hell, but that's how we look at it. We don't like, people who don't want to be around the have-nots. And we are a country of haves, and we don't like countries, poor developing countries. We favor people coming from countries that are first world.
They need to make that clear then. Just be upfront, make it clear.
Well,
you ain't invited here. You're not invited here if you're from a certain country. Make it clear.
They're not going to make it clear because then it sounds evil. I mean, just like even during the height of the Jim Crow movement, nobody admitted to being racist. Oh, that we just think they carry diseases or we just want to be around our own. Nobody admits it because it makes you sound like a fucking animal. So you come up with other ways to say it.
So they basically hypocrites. Just be honest.
Yeah.
Be honest.
Something like that. Something like that. That's kind of how it goes, though. It's kind of like, racism is like Fight Club. You don't talk about Fight Club. You come up with a different name for it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So, and that's how it's always been. All right, well, Chris, thank you for coming up. I do got to move it on, but I appreciate you coming through as always, man. Good talk.
Okay, my brother. Thanks a lot.
Always a pleasure. All right, moving on with the program. I do want to respond to a super chat. Bipolar Bear says if Latavians, that's what, there's an A in there missing, but he says if Latavians were the dominant group immigrating illegally, then we'd see Latavians being rounded up. But Latavia isn't next door, Mexico is. Some validity to that. I just think that as opposed to Mexicans being a dominant group coming here illegally and leading to Mexicans being rounded up, I do believe it's just a lot more to do with Trump getting elected. I don't think if we had have elected, think of all of the Republicans that ran when they tried to primary Trump. Let's think of all the Republicans, I'll say since 2008, when John McCain ran against Obama, Mitt Romney, then you had all of the 9 that ran against Trump from Tim Scott, Nikki Haley, Chris Christie, maybe Ron DeSantis. I'll tell you what I mean by maybe. Vivek Ramaswamy was in that group. We had whatever the governor of North Dakota is. I can't think of the guy's name, Tom Broman or whatever. None of those folks. If any of the Republicans I just named, from McCain to Romney, all up to the 9 that tried to primary President Trump, with the exception maybe of Ron DeSantis, none of those folks would be rounding up immigrants like this. None of them. Ted Cruz wouldn't be doing none. Marco Rubio ran for president. None of them would be doing this. So it's not necessarily about folks coming here illegally and, as you say, bipolar bear, they're coming from Mexico. No, it's Trump. None of those folks were running on the campaign of doing what Trump is doing right now. That is something unique to Trump and probably why he got elected, because a lot of MAGA wanted that done. But none of those other folks that were running against Trump were going to get in office and just start going gung-ho and giving billions of dollars to ICE to go catch as many illegals, and they're not all illegals, undocumented illegals. Now he's talking about possibly denaturalizing U.S. citizens. None of them were going to do no shit like that. None of them were going to do that. So it's unique to Trump. It has not. It ain't even a Republican thing. It's a Trump thing. Real quick in the comments, you're correct. That's why they're not president. Yep, Greg, I agree with that. That's why they voted for Trump, is because they wanted these people out of the country. I'm just going to tell you, a lot of that is racism. Call it what you want, but just look in the comments of some of the videos when you see this stuff. It's racist shit being said about these people. A lot of it is racism. I don't know what percentage of the party is that way, but a lot of the eagerness to get rid of these people it's based in racism. Because we can talk about MS-13, bad hombres, rapists, and murderers. We can talk about folks being here illegally or undocumented. But when this shit happens to Hispanics that are American citizens, it ain't like MAGA sympathizes with them either. I mean, as long as he's getting rid of brown people, he's going to get an applause from MAGA. You don't have to be here illegally to get that applause. He's talking about denaturalizing citizens of the United States right now. That means that person not only came here legally, they went through the whole fucking process, up to and including taking the American citizenship test. He talking about possibly denaturalizing. MAGA's not complaining about that. So it sounds good to say, well, he's getting rid of illegals. No, I really want him to get rid of anything that's brown. Legal or not, anything that looks brown. I'm good. I'm a cheer on getting rid of any of them fuckers. That's the way, that's the actual sentiment. But as I told my last caller, you can't come out and say that because it makes you look like a piece of shit. But that's really what it is. Anybody brown can go. You don't have to be here illegally. You don't have to be a rapist or a murderer. Birthright citizenship. Them folks don't fall in any of those categories. They're not here illegally. They're not, obviously the little kid ain't out joining MS-13. None of that. And you can get rid of them too. So yeah, it's anything brown that gets deported is a win. Doesn't have to be illegally, doesn't have to be undocumented, none. Just brown, you can go. Now Yusuf says America was never great. We still strive for a more perfect union. And that strive continues, none you. So let me go back to the box. In the comments, real quick, Straight Talk Commerce says liberals are far more racist. You know, I hear that all the time. Vote for me or you ain't black. The crime bill of the 90s is another good example. In regards to the notion that the Liberal Party is far more racist than the Republican Party, I'll just say, just for shits and giggles, I'll say maybe, but you'd have to be blind to make it work, though. If you go to a liberal gathering and then go to a Republican gathering, you're going to walk away from that thinking that the racism is among the liberals. You go to a liberal gathering, every fucking body is there. Muslims, feminists, blacks, whites, Hispanics, everybody. You go to a Republican gathering, it's overwhelmingly Caucasian. But that's the group that loves everybody. The Caucasians are the group, or not Caucasian, fucking strike that. The Republicans are the group that love everybody. It's just the whole fucking nation is too dumb to realize it. The Democrats are the racist party. It's just the whole fucking country don't realize it and they go to the Democrats. That makes no sense. It just makes no sense at all. All of the big liberal cities are ran by a lot of minorities. I think the 4 top largest cities in this country are ran by black mayors. LA, New York, Chicago, and I believe Houston is in there. And then if you go to the top 10, there's going to be a bunch more of them in there. In fact, they're overrepresented. I mean, the black community is only like 13, 16% of the population. They're overrepresented in the Democratic Party. They're underrepresented in the Republican Party. You look at Biden's administration, more than 13% of them were minorities. Look at the Trump, less than 13%. So it makes no sense at all to say the Republican Party is the one that loves everybody. They just ain't nobody there. And then you look at the Democratic Party, they hate everybody, whereas everybody is showing up. It doesn't make any sense if you actually have eyes. I'm just going to say it that way. Looking in the comments, though, you call it racism because your argument is weak. Every argument pointing out racism, if it's coming from a minority, Jeremy, is weak. Every argument. I don't care what period in history even when Martin Luther King was making the argument, it was considered a weak argument back then. Every minority that claims that racism exists is going to be presenting a weak argument if you listen to the opposition. They all are. They used to tell Martin Luther King, these people were just fine until you came here protesting. Nobody was complaining. You came here and all of a sudden there's a problem. I mean, it's all a weak argument. Going back to the box though, continuing on. I want to make sure I didn't miss the last super chat. 504,000 illegal immigrants in the USA are from Europe. Wow. Cedric Whitaker, that's a great, he says 504,000. Jeremy, why aren't they being rounded up?
They are.
Where? Have you seen any videos?
They don't have to. The news doesn't publish those videos.
Why don't the right-wing news publish them?
Because they're too busy responding to the left-wing ones.
You think that's all the right-wing news does is spend all this time responding to left-wing stuff?
Yeah, because the much bigger crisis is on the Mexican border. There's way more of them that are coming over from Mexico than there are from Europe.
So they just choose not to show the European ones.
Yeah, it's not as sensational.
Do you realize that?
Clicks.
But you do understand if you're only showing the sensational shit to get clicks, that could also fuel why people are calling the right racist, is because you're only showing minorities. You want to get clicks, as you say. You're looking racist doing that.
Well, let me ask you something. Even if you push the right idea as much as you possibly can, who pays your bills?
What do you mean by that?
Advertisers.
Okay.
And how do you get advertisers? Views.
Well, if you're getting advertisers,
ain't no one gonna advertise is on Fox if they don't get views.
If you're telling me that to get advertisers on Fox News, you got to show brown immigrants being rounded up, and if you show Europeans, they're not going to advertise on the network, you're kind of admitting they're racist, right?
No, I'm kind of admitting that it gets more people riled up, like left-wing people.
Yeah, it gets them. It works well when you show it happening to brown people, but when you show it happening to white people, they suddenly don't like it. You do. I mean, you're basically saying it's racist.
That's not really racism. That's just looking at trends and saying, oh well, we could try to show. Like, why do you think it is that they don't show many happy stories on any news outlets, even if they are happening at the exact same time?
Jeremy, I think you're basically.
It's because you need angry people.
Okay.
To watch your program.
You don't think showing
going to be more people. There's just going to be more Mexicans and Latinos rounded up in general because they're there. They're not an entire ocean away. There aren't as many people coming from first world, well-developed, functioning economy nations like Europe that are white. It's okay. Then there are going to be from shitholes like Mexico.
Oh.
Because Mexico doesn't know how to run its fucking government. It doesn't know how to run its fucking country. The people over there are sick of it. But every single time they try to do anything about it, we in the United States say, oh no, but then they won't come over to our country to be slave labor, so we have to give them aid and stuff and keep supporting their government, keeping them on the teat.
How do you respond to folks who often suggest that the reason some of these countries south of the border is fucked up is because of U.S. intervention in how their business is ran?
Very rarely is that the case. There's been one or two incidents.
Give me an example of what you even. Give me an example of the one or two you even admitting exist. Who are they?
Chile and Argentina.
No,
with Augusto Pinochet.
And you don't throw Venezuela in there with all of our sanctions since Hugo Chavez?
They've been trading with most of the world. Are you kidding me? It's the same retarded argument that people give when they say stuff like, Cuba's so poor because it won't trade with the U.S. That's hecking wrong. I'm so hecking angry. So you low IQ lobotomites. Of course you'd believe that. So
wait, hold on. You don't believe Cuba? I mean, the American embargo that's been on Cuba, I don't know how many decades. You don't believe that's hurt Cuba at all, huh?
Dude, it's not even a full embargo. It's not a blockade. Europe trades with them.
It's a yes or no. It's a yes or no question, Jeremy.
Yeah, I don't think so at all. Okay, because it's not even a full embargo. It's not. No. Hold on. This is important. It's not only do other countries other than the United States trade with these people at full length, okay? But also, it's not even a full embargo. They still receive tons of aid from us in the form of medical assistance and medical supplies.
Maybe if they didn't have the embargo and they could actually sell and trade and have tourism, they wouldn't need the foreign aid you're bragging about. The foreign aid is because we fucked them up so much that you don't want to admit happened.
It's not even a full embargo. And it's not a blockade. We're not stopping them from trading with Europe. We're not stopping them from trading with Venezuela, which they do, and from Colombia, and from Brazil, and Argentina.
We just named and claimed.
And Canada.
We just named and claimed the body of water that they would need to do a lot of the trading from the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. We control interests and assets to their country. And you're telling us we haven't had any effect on them at all.
No, it's not a blockade.
So you're telling me that if the Cubans wanted to bring stuff in from any country in the world, we wouldn't interfere with that? He dropped. I don't know what happened. Jeremy, you apparently dropped out. We'll move it on. I always enjoy talking to Jeremy. We don't agree on a damn thing, but you know how we run an uncensored program. And he dropped out. So we'll continue on. Jeremy, if you're in the comments, feel free to come back. He and Sue stated that you had low IQ and that their response made that, okay, you guys are talking amongst each other. Tap the screen, by the way. Get the likes on up to about 80,000, THOU. We could make that work, if you will. Real quick in the comments, bro, up until last night there, I don't know what that means. Been an estimated 20 million since 2006. Okay, you guys are, let me go back to the box, continuing on with the program. I thought I saw, okay, apparently she left out. Gangsta Grandma. Good evening, or good afternoon, rather.
It took your ugly ass fucking how many minutes, hours, shit.
What did I do wrong?
Jeremy's so weak. That is a true racist right there. Jeremy is a true racist right there. A shithole Mexico is a shithole. Bitch, you can't even afford to go to Mexico with your $15 hour job, bitch. How about that? With the dishwashing ass.
Now, real quick, just to interrupt you real quick, she's correct about his career choice. He actually has admitted, my last caller before her, he did admit he makes $15 an hour as a dishwasher. So when she
$15 an hour, they call Mexico a shithole, and he can't even get over there. He can't even get a room with his 15. So actually, after taxes, it's $9. White man, aren't you, bitch? See, people, when they work for me, they work for a black woman. See? So, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So you don't know shit with your poor ranky-dinky looking ass.
I almost want to have you guys talk to each other. I swear to God. But
you can't. Oh, let me. Oh, I would tear his ass up. I would hand his little dingalingy back to him. And I can't say it. But let me tell you something.
Yes, ma'am.
All this shit is racism, okay? All of it is. Okay? MAGA is racist. They are. They always do it. And now guess what? They made fun. MAGA made fun of California when it was burning, right? Oh, that's God's work. Yeah. That's God's work, right? Hallelujah. God's working, isn't it? Look at all that thing in Texas. After he signed the damn bill, God does work in mysterious ways, don't he?
Why are we like that, though, gangster? Why are we celebrating the suffering of others? You're right. They did laugh at California.
Why why is the maggot celebrating when they destroy when they going after the babies when the ISIS? Why? Huh? Why? Even and celebrated a baby having cancer. Yeah. He deported and was an American citizen. Oh, they was all good. But now what bad? Because little white teen girls got unalived. By who?
Let me go ahead and real quick.
God works in serious ways.
First of all, that's wild. But before I address that, I want to address a few folks in the comments who say this every time you come on. She is a black woman. She is not white. Everybody says that.
I'm not white, man.
Everybody says that.
Oh, they want me to be so white, don't they? Oh, hallelujah, I'm not. See, my mom and my daddy knows what color I came from, okay? I know, and I would never want to be proud. I wouldn't be proud to be white tea, not in this situation. Because you know what? Because the maggots are making white people look very bad.
Damn.
Very, very bad.
You think, you think MAGA is making whites look bad? You got to explain that.
But look! Always cheering. Oh my God, ICE is coming. Doing the alligators from Alcatraz and stuff. Doing all of this crap. Doing all this. That's hate right there. Okay, that's pure hate. And they're all rooting for them and every damn thing else. And I'm good.
Yeah. You think all MAGA though? I mean, what about the economy? You think all MAGA is racist? That's the only thing. They can't have other reasons why they voted for Trump.
You talk like a duck, you act like a duck, you a duck, quack, quack. All of them are.
They don't all talk like that though, gangster.
Well, let me tell you something. You think a racist will come to you? Well, honey, I am a racist. I'm a racist. I don't like you. Do you think they're going to allow us to do that to you? Do you really think a racist is going to do that? They are racist. When they can laugh about alligators and stuff and every damn thing else, you know they're racist. And now, all of a sudden, the left, they are rejoicing because babies got on the line. No, that was God. Like they said about California, that was God. Yeah. I swear to God, they were talking mad shit about California. Well, that's God doing it. Well, I guess God's doing it now too, huh?
So God is now in Texas.
God humbled their asses. God humbled their asses. See, let me tell you about God. See, God, they say, oh, God's a loving God. Yeah, God is a very loving God. But God will humble your black ass too. You feel what I'm saying? God will humble you. God will do things to humble you. And tell you, hey, now, who's the most powerful one? You feel me? He humbles. And I guess he humbled the white tea people because all they asses are white tea that got unalive.
What about the notion that some are claiming on the left that it's because Trump cut back everything from FEMA to the weather services and that's why these folks were not given a proper warning?
They did. They cut everything. And they all said it. They said it. They told them. The meteorologist came out and said, if you do this, people are going to get unalived. People are going to get unalived. And what did they do? They did it.
Now I hear Trump is trying to phase out FEMA entirely.
Well, guess what? The red states will get unalived because they're the ones that are going to get hurt the most. Is it Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, all red. Oh, honey, it's going to be bad. And you know what? I'm going to throw them a cookie.
Well, you also got to keep in mind that they do have the Alligator Alcatraz now. So if all of a sudden these folks could actually die on that island if there's a hurricane.
Well, you know what? That's all behind the racism. Okay? All that was behind racism. He's not going after the white tea people. He's not. He is not. Mm. If he was, why are they not showing? Why are they not showing it? Be proud. They are. They have a lot of them. They overstayed their visas.
What about getting? But maybe there's some logic to him getting rid of FEMA. Lorianne in the comments says FEMA didn't do anything for Western North Carolina, so is FEMA inefficient?
That's not true. They gave. Jeremy, you don't want to debate me because I'll make you cry and I'll make you go hurt yourself.
Jesus.
And I'll cut your dick between your legs. You'll be my whole B word. Don't do that. And white boys, you love that. But I'll make you my B word. You feel me? I really would. And give you back to your little homie. So don't come for me. Because I will put you in your place real quick. See, I'm not like you, Tim.
What did I do? What did I do this time?
No, because I can't give these people sympathy. And I'm so sorry. I gave you a little bit of compassion because you're ignorant. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Well, I like to let.
I literally hate the maggots right now. I literally hate the maggots because they voted for all this shit. They voted for the big so-called beautiful bill when everybody's gonna be affected by this shit. Okay, everybody. I don't get food stamps or nothing, but I'm gonna get affected because my insurance will go sky high, over $26,000 a year. You know what else? My kids is gonna go into medical school. They gotta take a test next month. They just found out they capped them.
Capped them how?
To be doctors. They capped them to be doctors. Okay? Okay? They capped it. Because you know what? They don't want your damn kids to learn anything. So they capped it.
Wait. What are you suggesting? That Trump wants society to be ignorant or something?
Yeah. Ignorant people voted for him.
Why would he want society to be ignorant?
Why would he cap it? Why would he cap it? Why? Why would he cap it? Why?
I
Well, he
can't.
knows damn well it's over 250,000 to become a doctor.
Yeah.
But he took that from all the pre-meds. He took it from him. But guess what, though? And it's all in Project 2025. But guess what, though? See, my daughters called me crying and said, Mom, I may not be able to become a doctor. I said, what the fuck? Why? They capped it. Oh, for real? Oh, my kids will become a doctor. Oh, my kids will. Because if I gotta go take loans out for my babies, I will.
What's going to have to end up happening is you're going to probably have to have hospitals that need doctors doing more to help kids become doctors. I mean, they're going to have to step. I mean, if the government is not, if our government becomes a government of don't ask me for shit, we're going to have to, and that's what we're slowly becoming. That's happening.
If the government doesn't, why are we paying taxes?
It's a great question.
Why? They gutted Medicaid. Why are we paying taxes?
That's a great question. I don't have an answer for that. I mean, they are gutting.
Hold on. This little idiot thing. Oh, my daughter paid $100,000. Let me tell you something. She got a loan, bitch. She got a loan. And my daughters ain't asking for handouts like scholarships. They get loans.
Yeah.
You have to pay it back, Riri.
And the loan is what has been capped, is what you're saying.
Yeah, the loan. I'm not asking for no freebies. I'm not the white man. And then you was on this morning, that white teen man said, oh, the black people, the government gave you guys an incentive to have babies. It was welfare. No, bitch. Welfare wasn't for us. It was for the white teen man.
He was doing. I appreciate you tuning in there. He was doing so much. I couldn't respond to all of it. He was saying a bunch of wild stuff.
The white man gets on the line by the popos.
Yeah.
Not the innocent ones.
Well, Trump believes that too.
Trump is white, T. Trump is the billionaire that's gonna get all these damn benefits. Then why are you bitching, Riri?
But you do realize Trump is like almost 85. Trump will be damn near 85 by the time he's leaving. You think he's still on a money grab?
Man, I wish he'll see the light. I swear to God. He's making the United States look so bad. I wish he'll just see the fucking light. I wish God would say, you know what, devil? Go see the light. Because he did it in Texas. See, people's like, oh, well, all these babies, and they didn't have warning. Well, honey, your orange Jesus did it. Your orange Jesus did it.
You're really blaming what happened in Texas this weekend, and you're saying that's God karma.
Karma is so real, honey. Karma is so real. See, when you talk shit about people, when you go and you say about California, and you talk so much mad shit, all the hatred that the red is spewing, you don't think, honest to God, you don't think karma's not going to hit you? Oh, karma's going to hit you. And it's going to hit you swiftly and hard. And God said in the Bible, he will humble you.
We got 3.5 more years of Trump. Where do you think we're headed?
I pray he sees the damn light. I swear to God, I think a Big Mac. I hope a Big Mac takes him out.
I was just about to say. Thank God you're not.
Look at this hate. All this hate. I'm not spewing. I'm spewing facts. I am spewing facts. I don't have hate.
I was just about to say, thank God you're not wishing his demise, but now you're saying you want a Big Mac to take him. You want the guy to die?
Oh, yeah. And if he would have knocked on my door for water, if he would
no.
I would never get that motherfucker a drink. I will give an undocumented immigrant a drink if I'll give him a drink. Oh, well, I didn't see you there. You're too orange. I don't know. You're the orange spot. No. I got it.
Let me ask you something. Are you one of those types? Because folks often suggest there are liberals out there that would not give Trump credit even if he cured cancer. Can he do anything to please you?
What credit we give him? He just undid FEMA. He just undid the weather, okay? He's stripping people from their Medicaid where they do work for it. ACA, they do work for it, okay? They're stripping babies from what is it called, food stamps, okay? They're taking free lunch from them. They're taking $1 billion away from food pantries.
That's capitalism. I got a viewer.
But guess what, though? So what do I give him credit for? What do I give him credit for? Stripping away everything?
I got a viewer, Gangsta Grandma, that says, I don't think she understands the Bible praying for hurt. You're saying you actually...
Oh, honey, let me tell you something about the Bible. There's good things and there's bad things. Goliath and stuff, what did God do to them? Huh? He humbled them real quick, right? Hallelujah.
All right, Gangsta. I didn't fluff today, so I survived.
I'm surrounded with real shit. Let me tell you something. See, God did humble your ugly asses. And you guys better take note. No, you're rolling your eyes and you know. God humbled you. Took your kids, took your mammies, your pappies. And now you want us, all little blue dots, all blueies. Oh, say, apologize? Fuck no. Because you guys didn't too fucked about California. And nope. So, oh well.
Folks are suggesting you got nothing but hate in your heart.
I don't have no hate. I'm giving a karma. See, I'm doing what they did to us when they talk so much crap about California. Okay?
Yeah.
So much crap.
That happened. Okay? That did happen. You're right. They did talk a bunch of crap.
Yeah. Oh, but hey, it's not okay for us.
All right. I don't know.
God humbled them. God took their babies.
You're answering.
And you know what it was, though? You know what the funny shit was? It was a Christian. It was Christians. All white tea. And guess who they voted for? Trump.
You're answering hate with hate.
Trump. Fuck y'all.
All right, Gangsta. You drive a hard bargain as always. Thanks for coming through. Gangsta Grandma there, indeed. Real quick, in regards to something she was talking about, I wanted to play a couple clips before we go to the next caller. And by the way, tap the screen. We might be able to reach 100,000 if you guys show the program some love. As I always say, let your thumbs not be lazy. For those who are wondering, we are MAGA friendly, always have been, always will be. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. We go left of Bernie Sanders to having dinner with Q. So if you enjoy uncensored, civilized dialogue, and I put civilized in quotes, but if you enjoy uncensored, civilized dialogue from all sides of the aisle, show your boy some love. Follow the program if you're currently watching on Instagram or TikTok, and if you're watching currently on YouTube, give your boy a sub. We're generally here most weekdays, so give your boy a sub on YouTube if you're happening to be watching. In regards to what we were talking about, now I see the call. If you call, Creed says, if you call protected by my country racist, then I'm the most racist person here. What do you mean by protected by your country?
Let's talk about George Floyd. You said George Floyd's death was a terrible thing.
Terrible.
Why are African Americans still dying at the hands of law enforcement in this country?
And so are white people. What a terrible question to ask. So white people. More white people, by the way. More white people.
That's what she was he was saying in regards to stuff like that. So apparently You're no safer from police if you're white than black. That's according to Trump. That's a few years back, but I also wanted to address another comment in regards to FEMA.
So we say God bless all of the people that have gone through so much, and God bless the state of Texas. It's an incredible place. Any questions?
President, are you still planning to phase out FEMA?
Well, FEMA is something we can talk about later, but right now they're busy working, so we'll leave it at that. Go ahead.
He didn't say no. So he was asked, are you talking about phasing out FEMA? Are you still talking about doing that? He didn't say no. They're working right now. We're not going to fire you while you're working. You're doing something we need you to do, but once things calm down, probably you're going to get fired. I mean, that's kind of what that didn't. If you were FEMA and you were concerned whether you're going to get phased out or not, what he just said didn't give you any sort of comfort at all. That didn't give you. I mean, we'll look at it. We already know how that's going to work. So FEMA's gone. FEMA needs to be gone or reformed, says Mike. Well, let's take it this. Let's look at it this way. A lot of states, particularly cities that go through natural disasters, do not have the money themselves to cover the cost of what they went through. In some cases, the whole state does not have the money. You look at Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans could not have helped those people out to the level of what they needed. So, and I'm saying this because Trump is talking about putting it back on the states. A lot of states don't have the money for this. Here's a problem where you open up the door to, I don't want to say hatred, I guess I would say discrimination or something like that. If you take it and give it back to the states, you help yourself, you help out your own self when there's a natural disaster. Federal government's going to wipe their hands of it. You already know what's going to happen if a red state has a natural disaster versus a blue state. It's going to depend on who's in office. So if a blue state has a natural disaster and there's a Democrat president in there, they can expect more relief than they can if it's a Republican president. It makes it so that you start discriminating in regards to helping out Americans. Under Trump, if a blue state has a natural disaster, they're going to get less federal funds. Let's say the state can't. Well, first of all, let's say California has a natural disaster. Trump would probably deny that state help altogether and suggest, well, you got the fifth largest economy. You guys already have enough money to figure it out. He probably wouldn't help out California at all. Whereas if Florida had a natural disaster, he would suddenly find money to help them out. So I don't buy that giving it back to the states is going to be the best way to handle this, because I do believe they'll then start playing games with discriminating against states that are not they're not fans of. Also, this could really fuck with elections as well. You know, all of a sudden you are you're a blue president, you're a Democratic president, and a red state has a natural disaster, and you can go talk to the governor, or you guys got midterms coming up. We do need. I mean, you can start playing games with how they do things. I need you to vote in favor of this, or I need you to do that. If you need assistance, you would do this. And Trump has already done that stuff before. I believe there was a hospital ship that was going on the West Coast during the pandemic, and Trump started diverting the ship that was going to give help to people because he didn't like the mayor of one of the towns or something like that, or the governor of one of those states. He's already started doing that. I don't believe you should be able to, as the commander-in-chief of the federal government, you should be able to discriminate against certain Americans because you don't like their governor or a congresswoman, or you don't like somebody in that state, or you don't like the politics of that state. He's already done that before. And if he gets rid of FEMA and goes back to letting the states take care of themselves, all of a sudden, if a state says, we've had a natural disaster and we don't have enough funds within this state, we need to beg for some federal assistance, it's going to suddenly matter if you're a blue or red state, or if you got a good or bad relationship with Trump. I just think that that's awful. That's discrimination. And that certainly will happen if we get rid of FEMA and return it back to state level. Looking in the comments real quick. So people are mean online to Trump, should be allowed to do illegal stuff. I don't know about it. Nobody should be allowed to do illegal stuff, but I don't know why on earth would we think that a guy who is in charge of 350 million plus people is not going to have bad things said about him. I mean, you're not going to lead a nation that's this fucking big and have everybody speak positively of you unless you pass some kind of Kim Jong-un type law where anybody caught speaking negatively about you can be thrown in prison or killed. That's the only way that's going to happen. You can't please I don't know why under Trump, you realize how much bad shit was said about Biden, Obama, and Bush? All of a sudden Trump comes along where you're talking mean about me. You do realize while calling the liberals snowflakes on a constant basis, you're making that guy sound like the biggest snowflake of all. As president, you gotta let that shit roll off your back. Hey, he said something mean about me, so I'm going on Twitter and I can say something back. How petty is that? None useful. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for your generosity. None useful too. Says the red states are the poorest states in the union. I agree with that. Why else would the blue states give red states some of their federal money to help their poor citizens? Red states never help blue states. This is the start of, I don't want to say a civil war or anything like that, but when you start doing shit like this, you're dividing the nation. This is the start of that kind of stuff, what None Useful was rightfully pointing out. This state ain't gonna help that state, this president ain't gonna, I mean, look, why are we paying federal taxes if during a disaster you're gonna tell me you're not gonna help me out, but you're gonna help out the state next door that's paying you a lot less in federal taxes? Before you know it, the people start revolting and say, well, shit, I'm not gonna give you any of my money. If I can't depend on this one, same thing with Social Security. You don't took Social Security out of people, now I can't get it back when it's my time to claim it. I mean, there's only so much before the people are gonna start saying, fuck it. I mean, it's almost like the old taxes, taxing without representation argument. You're taking money from me that is not gonna help me out at all. When I'm at my most dire circumstances, your response is, fuck you, you're a liberal. I wasn't liberal when you was taking my goddamn money. That ain't gonna work long. That's when you start having real problems doing stuff like that. But I do agree with you, None Useful, that the red states are where the poverty is. I totally agree with that. Infinity says, when Biden helped the Ukraine, MAGA cried about billions wasted. That is true, they did. Now that Trump is back and your own aid is being cut, so why is your guy hurting you now? Well, they don't believe that. I mean, most MAGA do not believe the big, beautiful bill is going to hurt them yet. Not yet, until it actually happens. I'll just tell you this before I go to the next caller. Trump ran a campaign on going after a lot of people. Illegal immigrants, liberals, colleges that have liberal mindsets, going after the transgender. I mean, regardless of how you feel about Trump, love him or hate him, I think it was pretty obvious he was going to go after people. I think where we have the problem is, like when you're talking about MAGA suffering from the big, beautiful bill, or we talk about Cubanos all of a sudden getting kicked out of the country when they used to have TPS status. Everybody was in favor of shit happening in this country as long as that shit didn't happen to them. That's how this happened. Everybody was okay with somebody else getting put in the bullseye. Everybody who voted never thought, well, shit, I might be the one that gets targeted. It's kind of like a Bruce Lee movie where everybody stands there and lets him attack them one by one. They don't realize the goal is to beat all of y'all asses. But if you're going to stand in a line, you kind of make it easier for me. And that's why I think the issue is everybody was okay with the cruelty happening to other people. It just wasn't supposed to happen to you. So one by one, just like in the Bruce Lee movie, oh shit, now you got the nunchucks on me. I wasn't expecting you to hit me in the head. Well, there you go. Let me go back to the box and continue on with Golden Share. Good evening or good afternoon, brother. Welcome to the program. Golden Share, good afternoon. Yeah, loud and clear. So, I'm doing good. I appreciate you holding on, by the way, too. So, why is it that we seem to just simply lack empathy? We're actually cheering on bad outcomes for our fellow Americans. Why is that?
I think Obama predicted that when he gave the speech about how people had been left behind when the economy grew substantially, during the period of globalization, and he said a lot of people who used to have $20 an hour jobs, now they have these Walmart $6 an hour jobs, so they're gonna cling to their guns and their Bibles and blame the immigrant. He said that in 2007, and now it's 2025, and how is he off the mark?
He said that and then proceeded to be the largest deportation of immigrants?
Well, funny you bring that up because I actually worked for immigration before then, and I've been following this issue very closely. The claim that he was the deporter-in-chief is technically not true. He had the most formal deportations because previous presidents had more informal deportations. So Obama had 3.5 million.
What is the difference between a formal and informal?
So what happens if you're within 100 miles of the border or within 2 weeks of entry, you qualify for technically not being in the country. So the 14th Amendment doesn't technically apply there. It's also true for maritime entry. If you don't stop at an official port of entry for an inspection, the government can subject you to what they call expedited removal, which we know as catch and release. They grab you and they send you back. Okay. You don't get the 3 elements of due process. So Obama was the first to really put an emphasis on the whole due process system. So he had 3.5 million fully due processed, so to speak, deportations of his 5 million. George Bush had about 10 million, where most of those were not due process. They were just expedited removal. And Bill Clinton had 12 million. So he was nowhere near the front of the line. Then when Trump came over, he moved a lot of the resources, and people don't believe this, but this is true. He moved a lot of the resources off the border and into more what we call at-large arrest, which is what they're doing now, where you put most of the resources in getting people at their workplace, in their homes, in the courts, and you're never going to make big numbers with that because it's like fishing in a giant lake versus fishing in the stream when they're all coming by.
Wow.
You're always going to have bigger numbers, and it's more expensive to do what they're doing now because I worked in the enforcement division. So when we had to go after one guy, and we only went after criminals, by the way. It was never, and since 1992, it's never been the priority of the immigration to go after what we call civilian deportations. People with no aggravated felonies or felony records. Only, people who basically have misdemeanor at best. We never made those the focus. It was always the people who would get from state and federal prisons on detainer, meaning they're already incarcerated, so we would process the removal on special flights where they're armed guard. Or when there's a warrant, we would call those criminal fugitive aliens, and we'd have to go and get them. So to get that one guy, we had to run a detail where it'd be like 8-10 guys. You'd have to go stick out the place ahead of time to do your surveil and then make sure you're not walking into something. Very expensive, a lot of resources to end up with one guy. And even when we had them in detention, that could tie up a whole day because there's a whole bunch of legal checks we got to make sure we're not deporting the wrong guy.
Well, I think they've been allowed to kind of cut corners with some of those legal checks.
Right now, it's anything goes right now, and they know that no one's being held accountable. The fact that they're not even wearing a number insignia, which is really insane to me, because I can understand that they got to cover their faces, right? Because they're afraid that there's going to be retribution, but that they're not wearing numbers either, numbers that would only be known to DHS. That's insane. And when they asked Pam Bondi about it, she said, "Oh, I haven't heard about that. I'll have to look into it." And I'm like, she would have addressed that when they sent out. Because there's 33 immigration districts, they would have sent out the protocols to all 33 on how to carry out these raids. And by the way, Obama was the first president that ended workplace raids, so he got any credit for that. But let me just tell you real quick.
Wait, real quick. I'll let you. You're you're a fascinating, Carl. Why do you think that they don't have number plates? I've never heard this. I have a problem with them wearing masks, but this number system where you're admitting that even the number system to know who that officer was, but it would let other officers know who they are. Why do you think they would remove that?
Because they don't want any accountability. They know it's going to slow them down. At the end of the day, they have to hit a daily quota of 3,000. So I think that's like 100 per district, right? And they want to, at the end of the year, they want to be able to say 1 million deportations is the most in a first presidential term in U.S. history. But it's not a million deportations. It's 1 million arrests. Because there's only 700 immigration court judges nationwide. That's only 15 per state. So these people are going to sit in detention indefinitely. we had a detention center when I worked there for the people who claim political asylum that flew in through JFK and Newark Airport, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Those people would sit there 2 years and they had maybe 1 or 2 hearings. So these guys are going to sit there for a long time. It's a mass incarceration scheme to profit off of groups like Geo Group and GS4 because they're going to it's going to be for profit. You go up to Canada, they don't allow this.
How does the for-profit scheme? Who makes a profit on keeping illegal immigrants detained, and how do they make a profit from that?
All right, so each politician from each state is going to lobby, build a detention center in my state. I have a contractor, like I said, Geo Group or GS4. You pay us $20 billion because remember they just tripled the budget, and ICE was already getting the largest law enforcement budget of any federal agency combined. If you combine all the other federal agencies combined, it doesn't come anywhere near the ICE budget, and they just tripled that. So each state is going to lobby for a piece of that. What is it, $70 billion or whatever it is they just added, to bring that money back to their state for the mass incarceration scheme. But that's what that's all about.
So you're just being given federal money to keep immigrants housed or keep them detained.
Right. While they wait for a docket. And by the way, after I left immigration, I worked in federal criminal court because there was too much dysfunction in the immigration court for me. That whole agency was in total disarray, even back then. So I went into federal court, and then I saw what night and day it is. They had enough judges, they had enough cases, everybody was very professional. It's like, what you would expect in a first world nation. This immigration court has a backlog already of 3.5 million cases, and they just added another 500,000 on top. So 700 judges now have to get through 4 million, and they want to add 1 million a year. So we'll be at 10 million by the end of the Trump term.
For 700, so they didn't put any extra money to hire more judges?
That was supposed to be in the border bill, but they didn't do that. And in this bill, if you read the fine print, you don't see that they explicitly say X percentage has to go to the judges. They leave it open so that they can send more money to these private for-profit.
So it's an intentional backlog that is deliberately designed to keep these folks in a detained state because they make money while they're using the bed while they're being detained.
Yes, not only that, they will transfer them from one detention center to another so that they make money off the transport, and they spread money from one detention center to the other. That's a big tactic that they use. As soon as you're arrested, different places.
I don't doubt anything you're saying because this stuff happens in the regular incarceration in our prison systems as well with American citizens. But why aren't there more folks that are sympathetic to what the immigrants going through saying what you're saying? Because I believe what you're saying is true. Why aren't they saying more of this?
Because there's a lot of misinformation, and unfortunately, a very large percentage of the electorate are not capable of understanding all this stuff. It's, I've worked in this field for 30 years because even when I moved out of it, I continued to work on behalf of people who are pleading asylum, like Haitian refugees and different groups. And I'm amazed at how complex and hard it is to follow for even somebody like me with experience. Like, I'll sit down with a lawyer and I'll take about 3 pages of notes, and at the end of it, I'm like, I don't understand it. Still, there's so many caveats and exceptions and little carve-outs and timelines that are different. You could have 2 people who are coming from the same country more or less around the same time, but because one has like a son that's 18 and married, the other, it's like, it becomes a mess. You really need a really good lawyer, and most of these lawyers are very poorly compensated. And they have huge backlogs in their own case files. They will not even take a case. I brought a case recently to a guy. I said, this guy, help him out. And he calls me back and he goes, sorry, I couldn't take his case because he's got no chance. I will be taking $10,000 from him when I know that that'll help his family. And by the time he gets the call that he's been considered formally, I will have retired from the legal profession. I can't do that in good conscience. So a lot of them can't even get legal representation. What I wanted to tell you real fast.
Go ahead.
The process of doing it the right, I want to just go through that really quickly so that people fully understand. The United States gives out 1 million visas that allow you to work in the United States. And that's for a planet of 8 billion people. They'll receive 30 million applications. So those are the people that are willing to pay and I told you it's like $10,000, and that's in U.S. dollars. So for somebody coming from a country where they only make 70 grand a year, that's a year and a half of their income. So if you're good at math, 1 in 30, because it's 1 million visas for 30 million applications. That's 3% probability of success. Wow. And they don't tell you right away. They'll wait about 10 to 15 years before they contact you to say, report to your home consulate in your home country to begin to start the process, which will take another 10 to 15 years. And remember, that's not free. So it's basically like you go to immigration, it's kind of like going to Walmart, and there are 5 lines. And this is the critical part. The first line is for pro athletes, wealthy investors, celebrities. You go right in. There's no wait. The second line are for people who are quote unquote genius visa holders like Melania Trump. Those are your, don't spit out your coffee.
Wait, do you think she's a legitimate case for that visa?
No, she had to have a major achievement. She had none. It's not just that you're smart. You have to have been noted in your field of profession for some achievement, right?
Well, she might have been noted for having nice titties. I don't know.
Maybe. So that category are your physicians, your engineers, your tech workers who have a corporate sponsor, whether it's a hospital or a SpaceX or a Google, that say, we can't find enough qualified Americans to do this job. So that line, 1 to 10 years, but closer to 1, depending on who you know and which country you're coming from. The third line, all right, so already you see the corruption, right?
Yeah.
It's how much money you have, who you know.
Yeah.
The third line, there's money's not involved. It's you're a U.S. citizen, you're at least 18 years old, and you're asking for your spouse, your son, your parent, your sibling. That line is 1 to 10 years, but closer to 10. The fourth line are the visa lottery winners. These people never win this. This is literally a lottery, so that line's always empty, and the cashier shows up once a year.
Damn.
The fifth line are for the migrant workers. This is an immigration visa that allows you to work in the United States. Not a tourist visa. You can't work on a tourist visa, which is what Melania had. So that line goes through the store, through the parking lot, down the road, onto the highway, and 30 miles down the road. Because it's easy because remember, it's 1 million visa applications for 30 million applications they'll receive, which is distributed worldwide. So if you look at the countries where most of the migrant workers are coming from, it's way less than 3%, because they're having to pick from that very condensed pool. So those people, I mean, it's not happening. Like, you could apply, but you're going to be waiting 50 to 60 years. So as an end run to that, in 2020, the Republican and Democrat corporations, and this happened through lobbyists. So, went to the Biden administration, said, we got to bounce back from the pandemic recession, and we're going to need about 7 to 8 million workers. So as an end run to that, they came up with this parole program for the TPS countries. Okay. So if you're from Venezuela, Nicaragua, Cuba, or Haiti, and you passed your background check, and you presented yourself at the port of entry, you got expedited entry. They use that CBP1 app, and those are 2.8 million over the 4 years.
Now, all of that's gone, right? Trump got rid of all that now, right?
Well, Biden stopped it before he left, meaning no further applications were going to be accepted. But Trump is now in the process of revoking all of them, because those are the low-hanging fruit. Those are the easy pickups, because they know where they live, they know where they work, they have their addresses, they have their information, they know they're not violent, they know they're not going to, greet you with a pew-pew once you go to their house. So they'll go willingly, and they're even going to the court, so you don't even have to leave your house to go get them. They're showing up. So they're grabbing those 2.8 million to put onto the pile of the 4 million already, and that's their plan. They want to basically reverse all of the expediteds who were.
What about the notion? What about the notion? Because the Trump administration is saying that revoking TPS for the Haitians makes sense because Haiti has improved enough where it's safe to go home. Have you heard any validity to that?
No, and I talk to people on this all the time because, it's, as you know, when the lead up to the election and he was talking about the dogs and the cats, they had a big surge in people who were trying to change their status, right? From, to try to stay here permanently from temporary. Mm-hmm. The situation in Haiti is the worst now that it's ever been. I know people who haven't left their houses for 30 days because it's just that out of control. It's basically total anarchy. Like, there's no safety or security in the country right now. So no, this is the worst time, and it's true in Venezuela. Some parts of Venezuela have improved.
So if we deport them back to if we deport them back to Haiti, some of them probably are not going to make it.
Well, they have no way to support themselves there in such a violent situation. So it's literally going against the whole concept of asylum.
Yeah. What about this last one I want to ask you? I might have to move it on, but I do want to ask you this. Third country deportations, where they deport you to a country you have never been to before. That's got to go against everything on the books, don't it?
Yes, and in the whole time that I've been working in this field, I could count on the fingers of one hand the number of times there was a third country deportation, because generally third countries don't want to get involved with that. It's a diplomatic fiasco. It's easier just to keep them here indefinitely, and generally they only give you that type of asylum when you applied for your asylum after the 1 year and a day, because you didn't have a counsel at the time to tell you that the clock was running. So the best they can do is give you that withholding of removal, where it's like you may have been ordered deported, but they're never going to enforce it, like they did with the Abrego Garcia case. So in that situation, they just say you can't be deported to your home country. It's sort of like a safety that they won't be sending them back there, and they know that it's 99.9% improbable that they'll send you to a third country. But that scheme is just a fear-mongering tactic. They want to basically scare people who are considering coming in, undocumented.
So you don't think a third country deportation is actually going to happen?
They'll do a few for the headlines and for the smoke screen that they like to do, but no, that will be very legally complicated and expensive for them to do that, because remember, if they're not arrested at the border or at sea, they have to go through the full court process, and that already becomes an expense. But there's one thing I want you to know, just to call out people who call in and say that it's the Democrats versus the Republicans. There were more deportations under the Democrats than there were under Republicans, because typically we have more undocumented immigration if the economy is growing at above 3%. And that's only happened under Bill Clinton's second term and under Biden, or if we're creating more than 200,000 jobs a month. Right now we lost 30,000 jobs. So that's why there's been this big drop. We've been slowly moving towards recession since December. So when the economy is growing, we have more deportations because there's more border encounters. But the thing that really calls BS on Republicans, and I want you to remember this, you could pass a law tomorrow with a Republican majority and Donald Trump is a Republican in the office of president, called mandatory 50-state e-verify. That means that every single state will be required to electronically verify every employee. They're run through a database. When they work, they present something called an ITIN number. If there's not a matching corresponding social security number, it gets flagged. This guy is using false documents. Stop, remove from the payroll, do not hire. They go on a do not hire list.
Right.
And they're notified legally that if you continue to keep this person on payroll, you're now committing a crime. If they pass that in all 50 states, this is what would happen. The poultry industry in Arkansas, Georgia, and Louisiana would collapse. The beef industry in Texas, Oklahoma, and Nebraska would collapse. The dairy industries in the red counties of Wisconsin and Minnesota would collapse. The pork industry in North and South Carolina would collapse. The agricultural industry, which is the majority of red states, would collapse because they do not have the workers to replace this many.
So what you're basically saying is it's almost like the Republicans are playing a sleight of hand, where they're complaining about we need to get rid of illegal immigrants, but they don't really want to acknowledge the fact that a large portion of their employees in their states are exactly that.
It's not just sleight of hand, it's happening as we speak, because in Florida right now, in the state legislature, there's a bill to do just this. It's called E-Verify mandatory all employees, no carve-outs, even if you have more than 25 employees. DeSantis could sign that tomorrow, but it won't leave the Florida Republican-controlled legislature. Texas has never done it. So the two states that were mass busing people up north, and those were all legal documents, migrants, by the way, because it's a felony to transport an undocumented person across state lines. So in Texas, Abbott was transporting people who had gone through that process that we discussed earlier, the formal admission process, and he had everybody think that they were undocumented. They were not. They were all verified ahead of time, because if Abbott put even one on a bus that he knew wasn't undocumented, that would be a Title 18 violation. So, felony. That's punishable like 6 years. If they get hurt, there's no limit to the sentence. Both DeSantis and Abbott, the two largest Republican states, controlled states right now, they're not touching E-Verify with a 20-foot pole. It would be very harmful. Right now, we're already having a big problem. I'm in Florida right now. I have neighbors who are citrus farmers. They're letting crops rot right now. I went to the local farmers market, empty. It's hitting now. That's why Trump's talking about it.
I think the problem, though, is why Trump continues to reign supreme is the Democrats keep talking about how bad things are going to get, whether it's just or deporting people, but the citizens are not seeing this stuff. We were told how bad gas prices are going to be around July 4th with the tariffs and all that. It's not happening, though. It starts to look like liberal fear-mongering because once those periods of time come upon us, things are okay. People are not seeing the price of groceries skyrocketing and the price of fruits going up like that. They're just being told that.
It's like you said, until it hurts me, I don't care or I don't realize.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen with Medicaid too, by the way. In the red states, with this big, beautiful bill, it eliminated something called provider tax. That was the way the red states were able to raise the state funds to the federal matching funds. The big, beautiful bill eliminated the state's ability to impose that tax. And that tax, like when you go see your doctor, let's say you're well off and you got good insurance, the doctor charges you $500. When the next patient who's on disability comes in, he would have to pay a portion of that $500 into a fund that pays for that disability person so that once, like I said, the pool gets to a certain dollar amount, it unlocks the federal funds. So all those red states now don't have that tax, so they're going to have to provide a raise of separate tax. And you know they're not going to do that.
No, but like I mentioned earlier, with the power to discriminate, my guess is to prevent MAGA from feeling the pain, Trump may find federal funding to give to their states so that they don't feel it.
Yeah, that could be it, because they want to destroy all these public assistance programs and put it entirely in the hands of the private sector. And the private sector will then start using their all that bullshit they use, like the pre-existing conditions, or like even now I'm seeing it because my father, he's fully disabled, and his nurse came today and she said they took away all their company cars. And this is the largest home care provider in the state of Florida. So half those nurses are like, there's no way I'm going to drive all around the county and the state on my dime, breaking down my home car and my personal car. So I'm out. Like, we're not doing this. And they were already short-staffed to begin with. And the process to getting people renewed to is going to get way more complicated. Like, I helped an elderly man try to apply for Medicaid, and they rejected him ultimately. And I thought, wow. And when the documents came back, they were like, oh, you didn't say this one little thing on the one line. And I had to get a lawyer involved, and they reversed. But I'm like, what if you don't have that lawyer?
And that's why they said that so many people are going to get cut off of Medicaid. It's going to be people getting tripped up in some of the most trivial things that's going to lead to folks not having care. Just lost in the paperwork. But Golden, I do got to move it on, man. Fascinating call. I did give you a follow. Certainly enjoyed talking to you. Lots of interesting information, certainly from your dealings in that profession. Come on back anytime, man. Good conversation.
Let me just give you some advice, though.
Sure.
Check your blood pressure when MAGA people call, because, it has a cumulative effect over time.
Really? Okay. I'll keep that in mind. Don't be a stranger. Come on back anytime.
All right, you're doing good work, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That was a good call. I like that. That's very informative. Looking in the comments, though, most MAGA voters feel like Trump hasn't done enough. Well, in regards to deportations, I'm sure they feel that way. Because I think most MAGA viewers want it almost to be like in America, what are the chances you'll bump into a Native American? I think they wanted the Hispanics to be like that, where it's only a few of them. Remember, let me just say this. Replacement theory is a real thing in the minds of a lot of MAGA. They do believe that's a real thing. So one way to reverse replacement theory is you start getting rid of 3,000 brown people daily. That's going to change. That's going to roll that back a lot. I do believe that a lot of folks, and when I say replacement theory, understand when I say brown people, nothing to do with illegal immigrants, nothing to do with rapists and murderers. No, any of them. If they're here, they hurt the whole notion of replacement theory. If they're not, things get better. So any of them. That's why anytime you hear of a Hispanic that is an American citizen, getting fucked with, I don't have a problem with that either. I mean, you're getting rid of one of them. It doesn't matter if he's legal or not. Just get rid of them. I think it's more of that. We can say illegal immigrants because it sounds better, but if you get rid of a legal one, that's just as good. Birthright citizenship, denaturalizing folks, all of that's legal people. Like you heard what my last caller was talking about. They're just as good as getting rid of somebody who came here illegally. Just get rid of them. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if they're here legally or not. They don't mind getting rid of legal people too. Making up a story. Well, this person went to the wrong protest, or this one was hanging around a gang member. Any excuse is good enough to go. We'll take any of this stuff. They're not defended. I don't think I've seen anyone that's brown where MAGA was saying what you did to that person is wrong. Legal, illegal, criminal, grandma, baby. I don't think I've heard them say anything, any of the outcomes where this person, okay, yeah, this one was wrong, or this one should have been a mistake. Doesn't matter. Any of them can get it. Any of them can. That's how you replace. And look in the comments. Look in the comments section. Well, you were here for 30 years on a green card. You should have knew to get citizenship. You can go. Anything, doesn't matter. Anytime you're getting rid of one of them, there are people in the comments that are happy to see them go. Doesn't matter what the circumstances are. Real quick in the comments, she's in the hospital right now from exposure. And what are you guys talking about? Okay, I don't see that. Duck season, rabbit season, maggot season. What are you suggesting? Whoa, somebody said duck season, rabbit season, maggot season. What are you suggesting there, non-useful? What are you suggesting? Some of this year's harvest will not be done. It will just stay in the fields. That's what I was telling the last caller, though. Until people see that, it's like liberal fear mongering. Until people actually, because the liberals have been saying under Trump, all sorts of shit is going to happen. Country's going to be destroyed. The economy's going to suck. Groceries going to shoot up. I heard somebody say by Independence Day, gas is going to be $5 a gallon. Until that stuff starts happening, it just sounds to MAGA like liberal fear-mongering. And most of that stuff, Trump gets ahead of it and it prevents it from happening. Just like the whole notion that if Trump gets rid of FEMA, you're going to have a whole lot of people in the red states suffering, and then they'll realize they made a mistake voting for Trump. Well, as I just stated, Trump will make it so that if you're in a red state and you have a natural disaster, they'll suddenly find federal funding to help you out. Now, in a liberal state, maybe not, but the liberals didn't vote for him. So it'll make it so that the people who voted for Trump never come around to the notion of I made the wrong vote. They may always think they voted for the right guy. He always seems to be there for me. Like for instance, he's going down to South Texas on Friday. He's going down to the flood area on Friday. Most likely when he go down there, he'll make some kind of promise to help those folks. And if that help comes, then it looks great that we voted for Trump. And that's kind of how it'll probably be. You can cut out FEMA funding federally, but if you keep looking out for the red states when they have a disaster, you look like a good guy. So the liberals can keep saying what's going to happen by electing Trump, but as long as it doesn't happen, it looks like fear-mongering. And by the way, as Shane Lewis stated, gas has went down in price. The price of goods and services in this country are not that bad. They're manageable. They're very manageable. So this is where the liberals were making it sound like the economy was going to go to shit under Trump. It's not happening. So until they see it happening, it just looks like the Democrats are fear-mongering. These Democrats are so stupid. If more rich people, your wording in this, Moonlight, these rich people are so stupid. If more rich people move over there, the properly weight will go up. That's what happens, and that's the reason why the nurses' home are shutting down. Okay, I don't know what you're trying to go. The grammar of it, I just got to tell you, retyped. I don't know what you're trying to say. Going back to the box, Miss Mobetta, I tried to get to you earlier. Miss Mobetta, good evening. Typical MAGA calling someone stupid. Look, I don't talk to MAGA without getting insulted, but I got some liberals that do it as well. Miss Mobetta, good evening or good afternoon. Hey, hey. So what do you think? Does it appear to you like what I suggested that we're seeming to not really have empathy for each other anymore? Right now, there's a flood in Texas. Hell of a lot of liberals are like fuck around and find out that's what you get for voting for Trump. You don't have federal funding. But then when the immigrants are being rounded up, the right is celebrating that as well. Do we seem like we're celebrating the misery of others?
Empathy, what's that?
Yeah.
What's that? That a lot of that stuff went out of the window a long time ago, Tim.
Why?
People don't care. People don't care unless it fits them, unless it fits your narrative. Now, with people, especially with states like Texas, people it's the fuck around and find out era. We've been saying that it's going to happen. You understand what I'm saying? Because Texas kind of, tried to be on their own a lot anyway. They always thought they was this super state and that we are the shit.
Yeah.
That's why Abbott acts the way he does. And now that they need some type of help and may the people that lost their lives rest in peace, now he wants to run and tuck his tail.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, Trump is going down there Friday. I mean, you don't think Trump is going to go down there?
No, he's going to come up with a meeting or something.
No, Trump is. I don't buy that.
I'm surprised. Why he ain't down there today? He ain't doing shit today.
Well, right now, there's a rescue mission going on and things like that. It doesn't need to be in the way of that.
Trump needs to be somewhere in the nursing home. They always talking about Biden and his cognitive skills and how delayed he was. Did you see that interview he had the other day? The lady asked him what's the time limit on people being housed in these places and what? You know what he talked about?
What?
I love Florida. I'm in Florida. The people of Florida love me. I donate big to them. He totally went left. Either he can't hear or he can't comprehend, which I think is a combination of both.
Yeah, but you know what the whataboutism is going to be. They're going to say that Biden was far worse than Trump.
That's MAGA's whole thing is the whataboutism. Oh, well, what about, Obama? Let me tell you the difference in Obama deporting people and Trump deporting people. Obama wasn't loud about it. He wasn't boisterous about it.
Yeah.
He didn't make it about him. And Trump is the total opposite. I gotta be loud. I want them to know it's my name. I did this. Which and this could have been happening if you didn't tell those people to block the bill. The deportations could have started a long time ago.
But I'm gonna put on my MAGA hat and say I give Trump a little bit.
You've been doing it all day. You've been doing it all day. You're fucking hard.
But I gotta give Trump credit when you say that Trump is boisterous. Maybe if more politicians were more gung-ho in patting themselves on the back, like Biden was viewed by the right as somebody who did nothing right, whereas infrastructure or some of the things he may have done right, if he was out there patting himself on the back like Trump, you got folks who are still using, for instance, you got folks who are hold on, you got folks who are still using vote for me, you ain't black, or the crime bill against President Biden to suggest he's racist. If he was out there like Trump bragging, he could say, there's millions of things he could talk about he's done for the black community. But he doesn't come out and say anything.
Because he's just getting done. He's for the people. When you boasting about things, you make that about yourself.
Well,
just because you're loud does not make you correct.
But people like that. But Trump is proving that people like that.
That's those bored people who ain't got shit to do. People like, what's his name, J.D. Vance, who humping on couches and shit like that. That's those folks.
Well,
that's those folks. Like, listen, some things you don't need to brag about everything you do. So, and all you do is you're creating just as many enemies as you are supporters.
Well, he's not bragging about Project 20. He's not bragging about. He didn't brag about Project 2025.
Of course he didn't. He has no clue, according to him, about what Project 2025 is.
Yeah.
He claimed that he had nothing to do with that. And if those people who took the time to read it could see that all of that stuff is playing out right now with this big bogus bill.
I don't know if I believe Trump had anything to do with Project 2025 either. I think that he just happens to have people around him that he's willing to do what it takes to make them happy, and they want it, like the Stephen Miller types.
He didn't correct any of it. He didn't correct any of it. So guess what? That makes you that makes you liable.
Yeah, he's complacent.
And when your name is all over this stuff.
Yeah,
your name is in there 13 times. There's no way you gonna tell me you didn't know nothing about that.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's complacent in it. He's complacent.
Hear his name. Are you kidding?
Yeah, he's complacent in it. I'm not going to disagree with that. I know, I do believe that when he told, during the campaign, when he was telling people he had never read it and didn't know anything about it, yeah, I believe that's a lie. Just like he said he's not going to touch Medicaid. And it's pretty clear the big, beautiful bill is going to do. I mean, Trump doesn't mind telling you something that's not true.
Well, see, that's what, most of the stuff he gets up there, he lies or either he flip-flops. You understand what I'm saying? This is why he's talking about, the farmers need the migrants and stuff. Because that's why he's up here just snatching anybody. Because he really had no plan on anything. He said, I'm going to just put you in place. You get whoever looks like them, you hear me? And get them out of here.
So
he's not taking the time. Who's the criminals? Who's here over a visa? Who's a natural citizen? He's not looking at none of that stuff. He's looking at how look.
So you kind of sound like you agree with me that being brown alone puts you in being brown alone is enough to make you qualify.
Absolutely, it absolutely does.
Yeah, I believe that.
The proof is in the pudding. The numbers are not lying.
Yeah.
Again, Jordan, I don't know if it's as many, but you don't hear of any people that are light or pale skinned being deported at an alarming rate like the brown people are. And if I'm lying, prove it to me. Prove me wrong and I'll shut up.
I didn't know. I mean, you are so correct. 500,000 undocumented Caucasian Europeans in the country. I've had viewers point that out. I didn't even know that many of them were here because you're right. We're not going after them at all. I figured it just wasn't many of them here. That's why you don't see them getting rounded up. But there's 500,000 of them.
They have complexion for the protection. And that's what that is. And that's not me being racist either for those, the MAGA. And I know that's coming, you're just being racist. No, I'm being truthful and I'm speaking on how it's moving. You have to call this stuff out. And when you see this stuff happen, you got to call it out. You know what I'm saying? So earlier when I said you was fluffing, when you said Trump is winning, no, he is winning. Damn, the country's falling apart by the seams.
But we're not seeing. Well, here's the only way I would agree with you that the country is falling apart. I think in terms of us fighting with each other, we're falling apart. But economically and things like that, I think people still.
That's because you're not personally affected. But there's millions of people that are affected by these things that happen. Life, whether we know it or not, we're gonna need each other one way or the other. You understand what I'm saying? Whether it's my grandmother, may she rest in peace, or my kid's grandmother, or somebody. People are being affected by this stuff, and they don't care.
I don't disagree with that.
MAGA, they'll believe anything. They'll believe anything that comes out of his mouth. He demonizes things he says. He makes reporters. He doesn't even respect the jobs and the education and everything that they've gone through. So I want those MAGAs talk about putting America first when you don't want to forgive any kind of student loan debts. You're taking away health insurance. You're taking away school lunches. How is that about America?
Great
Make it make sense.
I don't think maybe it's more like putting MAGA first, maybe?
Of course, it's all about MAGA and his cronies. Trump, MAGA, and his cronies. And we already know the only reason why he won is because Elon helped him. That's why Elon is so cocky right now.
Let me ask you that, because that's one of the topics saying that we need to get away from the two-party system and have a third party. He's calling it the America Party. What do you think about what Elon is saying there?
I wouldn't trust it coming from him. You're not even American, bro. You're not even American, bro. Your money is not feeding me any way, shape, form, or fashion. That's why I've never been into glorifying other people's statuses. You rich. But what is it doing for me? But how much do you feel that these people are going to allow him to get done as a South African?
Yeah. I think, you know, sound like a
good idea. You know what I'm saying?
It is a good idea.
Take that.
I think most of us agree. Most of us agree we need to get past the two-party system. The problem is nobody wants Elon to be heading the third party. But so he's on. Yeah, he's on the right path. We just don't want him to do it.
They're not going to let it happen simply because he would have to go against Donald Trump for it. You understand? So right now, the vast majority that fuck with Elon, they fuck with Trump. So it's like, all right, who I'm gonna choose between Elon or Trump? Oh, Trump's American. Then they're gonna go back to the American way. You know what I mean? Elon would have to go around giving a lot more checks, giving out a lot more checks. The same way he did was out giving out checks for Trump to win.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, I think Elon would have won a hell of a lot further as a liberal. If because his cars, I don't know what made him go right. He would have went a lot further as a liberal. I mean, certainly because Trump and Elon are very similar. They're both running as alpha males. They got a ton of money. I mean, like, why would you go with somebody that's literally the same as you? If he had ran as a liberal, I think he would have went so much further.
Because Trump promised him that position with Doge. He know that one. I don't think he would have had that same position available over on the liberal side. I don't think they would have gave that up.
That position.
You already know that.
That position didn't do shit for him. He could have paid some money behind the scenes to get those investigations cleared up.
It cost him more in Doge's position than it did anywhere else. Yeah. But he didn't know that though. So he had access to the White House. You know what I'm saying? Trump. He had his Teslas, like Trump called a Tesla. He had a Tesla on the White House lawn and all of that stuff. And guess what? That Tesla company is about bottomed out right now.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't. To me, I look at it like this, and I do believe that Trump wins constantly. Trump is a winner for himself. But I don't understand why people of, I want to say significance, but people of stature who associate themselves with Trump, they don't win. I'm talking to Giuliani's, I'm talking to Mike Lindell's, I'm talking now I don't. It's like, how many people got to try this in overdose before you realize you don't need to try this? Let Trump win, but all these people keep associating with him, and they're losing a fortune doing it.
Yeah. You see one of those senators, I forgot his name, resigned after you signed the bill. Yep. Now you want to resign.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Because he know it's horrible, and he knows what's coming. The rest of them do too. Like that lady from Alaska, she know it was horrible, but she keeps saying. See, the thing is, we don't know what the backyard conversations they're having. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that happens with liberals as well. That's how it works. I mean, Obama got Obamacare passed. He was making backdoor deals, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. And helping a lot of the MAGAs. A lot of the MAGAs benefited off of the Affordable Care Act. It's not the Obamacare. It's the Affordable Care Act. You know what I mean? A lot of them still benefiting off.
Well, by the time Trump is gone in Trump has 3.5 years. By the time he's gone, Obamacare will no longer exist. I got to move it on, Mr. Mobetta. You're breaking up a little bit, but yeah, by the time Trump is gone, the Affordable Care Act will cease to exist, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, a lot of other stuff is going to cease to exist also. That people are going to need. You see how that your caller, your last caller, they're not going to be even having health care for their elderly. Over here in New York, Sloan Kettering, which is one of the major cancer hospitals, they gave the people 90 days to receive treatment. After that, they won't even be able to receive treatment.
Let's see how
all because of this stuff.
Let's see how it pans out. Miss Mobetta, thank you for coming through.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I seen the comment, somebody said, what does that say? Stop with the heart. You folks on YouTube with the hearts and stuff, thank you for showing the program support. That must be a new feature. I've never seen hearts and things like that pop up on YouTube. So those who are doing that, thank you very much. Bro going full TDS says Sergeant Woodchipper, Drain the Swamp. Love the name. Something I always say in the program, I don't know what TDS is. I know it's supposed to be Trump derangement syndrome. To me, it just sounds like some bullshit that MAGA made up because I often take Trump's name out of it. And I ask MAGA all the time, all over social media on different platforms, what is your definition of derangement syndrome? And the minute you take Trump's name away from Trump derangement syndrome and just ask them what derangement syndrome is, and they start giving you the bullet points of what it is, they realize Trump is doing the same shit. Tell me how a person with derangement syndrome acts. And everything you're going to say, Trump is doing that to somebody else. You just don't diagnose him as being deranged. So in reality, the best definition for Trump derangement syndrome is somebody that don't like Trump. That's really it. Nobody else can have derangement syndrome. Only people that don't like Trump. That's what you really want to say. But if you actually go down and detail what it means to have derangement syndrome, you'll notice Trump still talking about John McCain 2 years after he was dead. That's derangement syndrome. Trump still is talking about Biden every time you put a microphone in his face. But now we can't give Trump the label. We only can give it to other people. So look, I don't know. Like I said, it's a bullshit diagnosis, but I appreciate folks coming on and saying it. Bullshit is haters without common sense and facts. Well, Shane Lewis, let's go with that. Bullshit is haters without common sense and facts. Haitian migrants eating cats and dogs. That's not based on a fact. Folks that believe that Biden was sending weaponizing the DOJ and going after Trump. That ain't based on facts. People that believe Obama was born in Kenya. That's not, you basically, like I said, once you take Trump's name away from derangement syndrome and ask MAGA what does it mean to have derangement syndrome, you start realizing a whole lot more people have it now, don't they? But you got to put Trump's name on it because you don't want to realize. All of the stuff you just said applies. He said, this person, Shane Lewis, says, Trump derangement syndrome is haters without common sense and facts. That shit's everywhere. You could probably suggest that the entire Venezuelans and Cubanos for Trump. Now that you see how he's treating them, all of those MAGA folks, all of the Hispanic MAGA that was down in Southern Florida, all of those folks, common sense and facts, they were clearly lacking that. Voted their own parents and friends right out of the fucking country. Voted themselves right into racial profiling. So, yeah, derangement syndrome sounds great until you actually investigate what it actually means. And then it doesn't sound very good. I'm looking at the comments, though. And seeing the comments, James Edwards says he is fixing everything. That means if the things that other people are concerned with, you don't think needs fixing, then yeah, he's fixing everything. If a woman doesn't want to be told what to do with her body, that doesn't need fixing to me. I think she should be told what to do with her body. So yeah, he's fixing he's fixing things that you find that needs to be fixed. You don't care what other people think is important. You care about what you think. He's fixing things that are important to you. He ain't fixing everything. And I see in the comments, someone says, Tim, why you never heard anything that they talked about bad about Trump? If you watch right-wing media, you hear bad things mentioned about Trump all the time. They're playing clips of The View. They're playing any clip they can get their hands on from MSNBC. Yeah, they play. If you watch right-wing media, you'll hear plenty of shit said bad about Trump. They're playing it all the time. What are you talking about? Great English and sentence structure, Cal. You guys are talking to each other. Trump denial syndrome. Dear leader does not do wrong. Yeah, it could be something. Like I said, though, if you break down the bullet points of what derangement syndrome actually means, MAGA's going to lead a conversation. They just start. We'll talk about Trump derangement syndrome because that means people hate Trump. But if you take Trump's name off of derangement syndrome, now all of a sudden they don't want to talk about it anymore because like I said, Trump has the definition of derangement syndrome. He just has it towards other liberals, and you're okay with that, so you don't call him deranged. But he has everything you would say that falls along derangement syndrome. He has that towards other people as well. Trump has only fixed one thing his whole life, and that's his taxes, says Highway Jew. Damn. He is deranged about every fucking thing, says Kingfin. I'm just telling you, if you look at the definition of what it means to have derangement syndrome, Trump has it. Just ask any MAGA person, what does it mean to have derangement syndrome? And if they describe it, there's plenty of ways to point to how Trump has exactly that. If Trump said hamburgers were good with peanut butter, they would believe him. Well, I don't know if he said if Trump said hamburgers were good with peanut butter, MAGA would believe him. I don't know for certain if that's the case, but I think there would be plenty of them that would try it. And you probably would get, because Trump went from, I guess here's a perfect example. Trump spent most of his 2023 and early 2024 campaign pointing out negative aspects of e-vehicles. Anytime you heard Trump talking about electric cars, they lacked horsepower, they lacked the range. He was making all kinds of jokes and trolling electric cars. All of a sudden, Elon comes along. And by the way, MAGA was cheering on the trolling of electric vehicles. They were lockstep behind Trump on that. All of a sudden, Elon comes along, puts a ton of money into the Trump campaign. Trump not only stops talking about e-vehicles, he starts promoting them. We've seen the commercial on the White House lawn or whatever, buy a Tesla. And of course, for some strange reason, MAGA's mindset changed on the e-vehicles as well. Now all of a sudden you got cyber trucks where people are painting pictures of Trump on the side of the truck. I don't know how that works. You've hated something for the last couple of years. All of a sudden he speaks favorably of it, and now you like it. The vehicle didn't change at all. Nothing about the Tesla changed at all. It was just simply Trump went from hating it to endorsing it, and so did MAGA. And that also works in reverse. Went from loving something to hating it. And once again, MAGA, I don't know why, but they followed along with it. And that would be Elon Musk. When he was finding tons of waste, fraud, and abuse, he was heavily celebrated among the ranks of MAGA. Saving his country all kinds of money, no longer sending it to USAID. Money's not going to the Ukraine. We're getting rid of immigrants that are, a louse to our system. We're doing all of the right things. Elon Musk with the chainsaw, they were celebrating him consistently at CPAC and everything. All of a sudden, him and Trump had a falling out, and he instantly went from a man of high credibility to virtually none at all. Now he tells you Trump won't release the Epstein list because he's on it. He's lying. He's making it up. He's mad at Trump. The same guy had done before he made that statement about Trump being on the Epstein list, he had done nothing to lose credibility. He wasn't caught in any lies, nothing. But for some reason, he criticized Trump, and suddenly he has no credibility. I don't know how that works. But I do give Trump credit for that. I often say on the program, I'm jealous of Trump. I wish I could be in a position where everything I say you follow. I don't know why all of a sudden, once you criticize Trump, you lose credibility. We've seen that and that doesn't just pertain to Elon by any means. We've seen that happen to a host of well and highly respected Republicans that were in the highest esteem among the Republican Party. They got into a spat with Trump, and they suddenly became nobodies with zero credibility. We can go all the way back to the likes of all of the Republican nominees for president of this great nation. John McCain, Mitt Romney, and the Bush family. They were all in such high rankings among Republicans that they were going to propel them to commander-in-chief. They liked him that much. They were going to put him in as president. All of them, McCain, Romney, and of course, the Bush family. They got into a spat with Trump. They now have no credibility. None of them do in the Republican Party. None of them. Same thing with Liz Cheney. Same thing with her father, Dick Cheney. Highest esteem among Republicans. Liz Cheney, if she had not got into a spat with Trump, would still be a Wyoming senator today. I don't think there's anybody that denies that. That woman would have been a senator for as long. If she had just simply said the 2020 election was Trump's and Biden cheated, she would still be in Wyoming as a senator. All it takes is to get into a spat with Trump, and your whole political career is. I don't understand how that happens. I don't have any explanation for that. How it doesn't matter how much you've done for this country, the minute you get on the wrong side of Trump, you are useless. I mean, now we just had a senator in North Carolina go against Trump on a big, beautiful bill, and Trump started talking about going after the guy, and that guy is now retiring or stepping down or whatever. And it's happened all over the Republican Party. Adam Kinzinger is another one. If you speak out against Trump, your career, I don't get it. It doesn't matter how much you have served your people in your constituency. All you do is need to go against Trump, and everything you've done in the past is irrelevant. That alone is a cardinal sin, and your ass must go. I don't understand that. I don't have any explanation for that. Looking in the comments, if Trump pissed in a what is this? Kevin Kev says if Trump pissed in a bucket and told maggots to take a sip and pass it around, they wouldn't hesitate. Oh my God. I don't know about that. But I will put Trump in this kind of, you ever seen the social media post on, let's say, Chuck Norris? You know, Chuck Norris was born and he smacked the doctor and made the doctor. All of these, Trump is like that with MAGA. All of these, you know, just like the most interesting man in the world, and don't say, Trump is like, I don't know how anybody, and I'll tell you this right now, I don't know of any Republican right now. The ones, and I'm talking about the ones that are in high esteem. I'm talking about the Marco Rubio's. Who else is in high esteem? Steve Bannon, Tucker Carlson. We see what happened to Candace Owens. Any of those folks. I don't know of any Republican in existence that Trump could not destroy and totally end within a span of probably a week or two. If Trump starts talking negatively about you constantly, your days are numbered. I don't care how long you've been a Republican. I don't care how many likes and views you get and Megyn Kelly types. Doesn't matter. If Trump starts speaking negatively of you, you are done. Doesn't matter what you did. If he don't like you, they don't like you. I don't know how one can get that much power. I just don't know. But I will admit he has that kind of power. I don't know where it comes from. Looking in the comments, the Republican Party is with Trump because they are racist, says Seymour. I don't know if they are. I don't believe all Republicans are racist. I think that, like I said, there's legitimate reason to vote for Trump. There is no legitimate reason to view him as if he's God, though. I don't get that part. I guess you don't know about the huge funding of rural medical facilities. Okay, you guys are talking about. He has absolute power over their feeble mind. I don't know how you get that, but I do believe that if Trump says, let's do this today, MAGA will agree. And if he says, no, I decided to do this tomorrow, most of MAGA will go in that other direction. This is what happened with no new wars. Well, yeah, we did need to bomb Iran. That ain't what you ran on. I mean, I don't understand how you get that kind of power. All of a sudden, meeting Kim Jong-un was a good thing. Threatening to bomb Kim Jong-un is a good thing. If we went from pretty much blaming the Ukrainians for the Russian war, Trump is now indicating he might actually help the Ukrainians. MAGA's rolling with him no matter what. I just don't understand how you get that power. Like, it's like I don't really, and this is one reason why I say all the time, I stopped watching Fox, and I've been watching Fox News for 20 some odd years. I go way back. I go back to like Hannity and Combs. I go back that far. And I just enjoy, even though I lean a little left, I enjoyed the way they deliver the news. But I stopped watching them in the Trump era because they did go from running on principle, conservative principles, small government, Christianity and things like that, pro-military, pro-police. You kind of knew what they stood on. It's kind of just like we with him. Doesn't matter what if he wants to do this, we roll with that. If he changes tomorrow to this, we roll with that. And that's what kind of made it hard to watch Fox. It's like, I've been watching you guys for 20 years. You don't stand on this, but because Trump is for it, you're okay with it now. That didn't used to be Fox. They used to have a conservative ideology they ran with. They didn't just go with whatever Trump goes with. They pointed out things like dishonesty and stuff like. Now all of a sudden, well, he's just exaggerating. Well, he likes to troll. That ain't what you used to run on. So that's what made it a little bit hard. And of course, they will do the same to any of the people that they used to like. that he turns on. Like, you've had Liz Cheney on the show. Why is she bad all of a sudden? You were promoting Mitt Romney and John McCain. Why are they bad all of a sudden? I mean, this is Fox. Like, you've enjoyed all of these people, promoting them. He changes and you change with him. And that's what made it hard to do that. Kelly is definitely on the East list. I don't know what the East? Don't know what that means. So what you're saying is they're normal politicians. No. I don't think there's anything Obama, who is probably the most well-known person in the Republic. I don't think if Obama started speaking favorably of Elon, I don't think the Democrats are going to flip like that. There were plenty of Democrats that were criticizing Biden and Obama when they were in office. You don't make it as a Republican criticizing Trump. Big difference. I mean, if you're a Democrat and you're criticizing Biden, you don't turn into a Democrat in name only. If you're a Republican, I don't care how long you've been in the game, you turn into a rhino. Doesn't matter what you've done in the past. The minute you start criticizing Trump, you're a Republican in name only. It's different. It's a big difference in that. And I agree with what I can't pronounce the name. A true lover, some says it's the Trump's party. The Democrat Party was never the Obama's party. It was a party that Obama was leading, but it was not Obama's party. The Republican Party is Trump's party. Trump has way more power than Obama had when he was president. It's just not the same. And that's admitting that a lot of people like Obama, but it's a big difference. Let me go back to the box. Fuck around and find out. My boy Gen X. Good evening, Gen X. I know I'm getting a hell of a lot wrong with you. Good evening, or good afternoon, rather.
Good afternoon, man.
Hey.
Good afternoon. Come on, bruh.
Now the program is about lacking empathy. You probably are the perfect person to talk to. Why does it seem like we are starting to lack empathy in this country? Whereas you got what just happened in southern Texas. The Democrats are fuck around and find out that's what you get for voting for Trump. And of course, what's happening to the immigrants, MAGA celebrating all over the internet. Anytime they hear about a family being broken up or something, same thing in Gaza. They hear about a church getting bombed or better yet, a hospital getting bombed. MAGA is celebrating all that stuff. Why have we gotten to a point where we don't give a damn and have no empathy for fellow mankind?
2 words, Tim. Political polarization.
I believe that. How do we get past that? I don't know where it started, but how do we get past that?
I don't think we can. I don't think that as a society we can get past it until we get past a whole lot of other shit.
Give me some examples of the other shit.
Politics, the left and the right, different ideologies and beliefs, man. From abortion to men and female sports. If we can't agree on, I'll take abortion out of there because that's kind of a different animal. But if we can't agree on shit like that, we can't even agree on what mental illness is.
Mm. Yeah.
So, and it's but on the other hand, I think if everybody would approach shit from the stance of just being a decent human being instead of seeing it through the eyes of liberalism or conservatism, we'd be a whole lot better. But that's not going to happen. Like the shit that happened in California with the fire.
Okay, guys, I just started a new series of
when you're talking about being a decent human being, do you think Alligator Alcatraz and taking pictures with that and selling merchandise, do you think that's a quality of being decent human beings? I mean, we're ridiculing the notion that an illegal immigrant might get eaten by an alligator. People seem to be happy at the prospect of that happening.
Who's it hurting?
A human being being eaten by an alligator.
All right. Who has been eaten by an alligator? Give me an example.
No. Nobody's actually being eaten. I'm saying people are happy at the prospect that it could happen.
Okay, so now you're going on emotions and feelings and not facts. Nobody's been eaten by alligators. Nobody's saying to feed them to alligators. Now, a lot of people, including myself, say if they're dumb enough to climb out of that fence and swim across the swamp and they get eaten, that's their own damn fault. They weren't thrown in there.
Well,
it's a matter of decisions.
Well, we are bragging that we are using the alligators as security. I mean, they're bragging about that we're going to build it here. We're going to put it here because we know the alligators are out there and that stops them from, I mean, we are bragging about the possibility of an alligator eating a person.
All right, so, and?
That's lack of empathy. You want somebody to get eaten?
Well, what would be the difference if you put these detention centers in the middle of New York or LA and they escaped and got killed by gang members? What's the difference?
Well, I guess the difference is you almost know for certain if they go in the swamp is going to happen because that's the alligators looking for food. That's not escaping out of a detention center in New York. The chances of you actually being taken out by a gang member are probably not very high.
Man, have you ever been to the hood?
Born and raised.
Yeah, so you know certain parts of Chicago. Well, let's say they put the detention center on O Block.
I don't think if you got a hold on.
They ain't making it off O Block.
If you got a that's not true. I mean, if you come walking down any block in the hood as a brown person, even if you don't belong in that, they're just gonna murder you. That ain't what's happening. I mean, if you don't come down there acting stupid and saying crazy shit, and you're walking out with your clothes all ripped off, and by the way, if you still got a Department of Corrections outfit on, they might actually help your ass because they don't like the Department of Corrections. But if you're walking through the hood as a brown person, somebody might ask where you at, but ain't nobody just trying to murder strangers like that.
And the odds of them getting eaten by an alligator is very, very, very slim as well.
If you're in the Everglades and you're hiding out overnight and shit like that, I don't know about that one. I think your chances are pretty high.
I mean, you're talking about people that come from countries with a lot of wildlife. And you don't think they know how to survive in the wild? You don't think people from Florida don't know the do's and don'ts of going through the Everglades?
You're not going to... You do a swamp? No, not a swamp. Not in the swamp.
Did you watch Swamp People?
Say that again. Hold on, see. Chad Bostic in the comments, put up on Shut Up Broke Boy Radio, match my 20. I don't get what you're saying, but I appreciate this. I guess you're talking to somebody else. But go so you do see the lack of empathy. Do you see any of it originating from Trump?
I see it originating from both sides, and yes, absolutely, from Trump and the left. Like I said, this isn't a one side or the other side deal. This is happening on both sides of the aisle.
Did you see?
I think we feed off it and make it worse.
Did you see Biden or Obama lacking empathy like this?
Yeah, sure. When Biden said that Trump supported our trash, and Trump went out and bought a garbage truck. Absolutely.
Let me just say this in regards to Biden. You notice that in a case like Biden, you could probably come up with one or two things. In the case of Trump, you could probably come up with 1,000. So, yeah, like when Biden said they're garbage, that's at the end of his term. I mean, he only got a few months left at best. When Trump says it, he just stepped in the White House. I mean, he's only been in the White House now for, 5.5 months? He's already probably said a couple hundred things against the Democratic Party. It's not even in the same universe if you compare the things that Biden has said about the right versus the stuff that Trump says about... You can't even put a microphone in front of Trump without him criticizing the left. Biden was not like that.
Funny, I remember when Biden first got in office, one or two of his first couple speeches, he bashed Trump, he bashed the J6 thing. That was every other word out of his mouth for the first year and a half. Proud Boys this and Proud Boys that. So come on, man, it happens on both sides. Now, I will give you this. Trump does say it more, but a lot of that thing on my part is because I pay a lot more attention to Trump than I did Biden.
Well,
But I noticed it from both.
Well, the thing about it is Trump's going to say it more for a few reasons. First of all, Trump says more shit than Biden does. Biden was only on TV every week and a half or something like that, whereas Trump is on TV damn near every day. And like I said, every time he's on TV, he's criticizing the left. So, yeah, I mean, my guess is Trump has probably said 1,000 times more negative stuff about the other side than Biden has. He's been on TV 100 times more. And every time he's on TV, he's flooding the zone with negative shit about liberals. So, yeah, I don't think there's anybody in history that's going to keep up with Trump because he is kind of like a hobby. He has derangement syndrome. We just don't call it that.
Well, to be fair, Biden could barely string along 5 or 6 sentences to make a coherent paragraph. So,
yeah, but Obama didn't do it. Obama didn't go on TV and bash the right every chance he got.
Nope, I think Obama was an exception to the rule. I'll give you that.
I don't think George W.
I didn't agree with a lot of Obama shit, but what I will agree with is that Obama was a very, very well spoken presidential man. I'll give him that.
I don't think George W. Bush got on TV and bashed the left every chance he got either. He wasn't doing it either.
Trump's a different animal, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already established that. Trump's a totally different animal, but he's effective. He's effective in what he does.
I'll say somewhat. I mean, like, if you're dividing the country in half, I don't know how effective that is. I mean, if you're starting to make man hate man, neighbor hate neighbor, I mean, look, at the end of the day, you can have a efficient running country financially and economically, but if everybody in the country hates each other, I don't know what to talk about.
It's not something to brag about. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I hate that we're so divisive, but on the other side of that coin, there's no way I could ever go back to the Democratic Party. I don't agree with it.
I get that.
I align more with the right than I do the left. And Trump's my president right now, and I'm going to trust what he does. I don't agree with everything. I still think bombing Iraq was a fucking mistake. I still think backing Israel the way he backs them is a fucking mistake. My beef isn't with the Palestinians. My beef is with Hamas. They're the ones, you know what I mean, that are destroying that poor country. And at the end of the day, truth be told, when they first made the country of Israel, the Palestinians welcomed them with open arms, and they went fucking power hungry, crazy, and committed a lot of atrocities. I do not agree with backing Israel the way we do. 100% against it.
Wow. I'm surprised that this sounds a lot different than your whole take on women shouldn't have the right to vote. This is the other side of you that people are going to favor a little bit more. This is not the bring me a sandwich Gen X we've come to know and love.
I still want my sandwiches, and I want a woman to make them.
I still never understood the notion that America would be better off if women didn't vote, though. You lost me with that one.
Because they women, unlike men, most men, reason with emotion. They reason with their feelings. The world would be in complete chaos. There's a reason that men have controlled the world throughout human history. Because if they didn't, we wouldn't have made it 1,000 years.
You really believe that women use their emotion? You know, most of the bar fights are not women, Gen X. I mean, men are the ones that act on. If you go and talk shit to a woman versus talking shit to a man, there's a much more greater chance that the man is the one that'll resort to violence off of it. Yet you see women as being emotional?
I've never been in one bar fight based on emotions. I've been in many because it's fun.
I don't know. I got to disagree with you that women. I think that if you had more women in leadership, a lot of things that we normally fight over would probably get settled because I think women are better at discussing and negotiating than men are. I think that a lot of the things we've had wars over, I can absolutely tell you without a shadow of a doubt, you wouldn't have as much problems between minorities in the cops if you had more women on the force. How often do you hear of a female cop involved in a controversial shooting? I mean, women are smaller. There's plenty of white women on the force. They almost never get involved in that shit. It's almost always dudes.
The ratio is of women to men. Do you know what the ratio is of women to men per capita in law enforcement?
There needs to be a great.
It's not even close.
That's what I'm
Not
saying.
even close.
Yeah, I get that, but even when you take into account the smaller percentage of female officers versus male officers, and then you look at the controversial actions, the men are still overrepresented. I mean, probably 90+% of the controversial shootings and things you see are men. It's more than 10% on the force of women. So the women are still underrepresented. They just don't get involved. They know how to work with people. They don't just escalate shit to violence. They just make for better cops in terms of working with the public. Now, in terms of areas where you need aggressive activity, you need somebody with strength, then yeah, you need men. But in areas where a situation can actually be de-escalated as opposed to escalating it, women are a better choice.
Let me give you this, Tim. If it wasn't for Eve, we'd all be living in paradise to this day. To this day.
Oh my God.
That's damn facts.
I don't think that's a fact, Gen X. I do not think that's a fact.
He's the one that talked him into eating an apple and picking from the forbidden fruit. That wasn't Adam's idea. The man said, leave it alone.
You know how many
Let's
women...
kick rocks. We're not supposed to be here.
Well,
but the man listened to woman, and here we are.
You know how many women will talk me into eating a peach? It can work. It works. Well, not an apple, but a peach. But it works. They can talk men into eating shit. It happens, man. It just happens. But
and they can also talk men into the way they vote. They can also talk men into the way they vote. That being said, I've heard women say, if my man vote for Trump, I'd believe his ass. You think a man with a 14-year investment into a relationship, kids, a house, going to lose half his shit for a vote? Hell no.
How is she gonna know how you voted though, Gen X? You just tell her one thing and do another one. She can't see what you vote, no.
Oh, she'll know.
How?
You and I both know. You've been there too. How many times you do shit that you wasn't supposed to do and your woman found out? It's just what they do, man.
I don't know about all that. But in regards to your comment that a woman can influence a man's vote, I actually think it's usually the opposite. I think it's a lot more women that follow their husbands and vote like their husbands than vice versa. I think the men are the ones that's altering it.
Yes. On the conservative side, yes. That's because in a conservative relationship, women are women and men are men. On the liberal side, you don't know who's who.
Explain, I need you to elaborate. What do you mean when you say women are women and men are men among conservatives? Explain that.
In a conservative household, men and women have their respective roles as defined by God. The liberals don't believe that. They don't believe that, and most of them don't believe in God. When you take that element out of the family unit, you corrupt the relationship in a way that, again, go back to Adam and Eve. Everything was just fine until Eve had a bright idea going to eat an apple.
I actually believe that in conservative households, I think what you're trying to say in going by the principles of God is that men have a hierarchy in conservative households. They actually are ranked above the woman. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yep.
And you think that's a good thing?
Right. I'm sorry, what's that?
And you think that ranking a man above the woman is a good thing?
I didn't say ranking a man above a woman. I said, but a woman has her place and a man has his place.
What is the place of a woman?
The place of a woman is to take care of the home, raise the children, don't fucking be bitching out the man all the time. If women do 3 things for men, 3 things. You're supposed to be nice to us. Life is good. Life is good, man.
And what does a man have to do for the woman?
Protect her, provide for her, keep her safe. That is our job. That is our role as men. To protect our children, to bring our children up with values and as good men and women. And if that involves a belt, then so be it.
What if the woman wants to provide herself?
Then let her provide herself. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying how it should be.
Okay. Now,
If a woman wants to fight for herself, more power to her. My daughter Juliet, she was very conservative. She's doing it by herself right now. She tells me, Daddy, I don't want a man. I want to make something of myself in this nursing school. You know what I say? Baby girl, do what's best for you. Because I know at some point in her life, she's going to want a man. She's going to want a family. And when that time comes, yeah, she'll have her own thing going, but she will respect her respective role in the relationship.
Mm-hmm. So when she gets married, her husband will have hierarchy.
In a sense, yes. In a sense, no.
Right.
I wouldn't expect if she went out to the supermarket with her husband and some dude attacked her for her to have to defend herself. You better whip that dude's ass. That's his job.
How do you respond to Mike in the comments says your daughter may actually grow up to want another woman?
Never happened.
How do you know?
The same way I know that Mike's kids won't grow up and say, why weren't you on the side of history with Donald Trump? Because of the way he's raising his children.
So you can raise your child to be heterosexual?
Absolutely. Yep. You can raise your child right.
Is it possible that a child can be born homosexual?
I don't believe that either, no.
So
I think homosexuality is a social construct.
So if you're a homosexual, it has oftentimes something to do with how you were raised?
If you what?
You're saying that if a person grows up to be a homosexual or trans or something, it has something to do with how they were raised?
I think trans is a totally different animal. I think trans people are mentally ill. They're not gay, and even gay people will tell you that they don't agree with the transgender movement. Some, not all.
Some. And listen, I don't know a lot about it. I'm not in it, but I think that you could be trans or you can be gay or anything. I don't think it means you're mentally ill. I mean, I just think that, that's if you feel that that's where you're at, that's what you feel. I mean, people feel like there are all sorts of different things. I don't know if I would call it mental illness.
A child's going to be a product of their environment. I'll give you an example. I grew up in an Italian-American family in Brooklyn, New York. Until I was in my 20s, I believed that the bad guys, the La Cosa Nostra, were the good guys. I believe that being a gangster, and it's not just Italians, it's brown folks, black folks. If you take a kid, a black child, and raise him in a gangster family where big brothers are gang members, mom and dad are ex-gang members, this and that, he's going to grow up in a different culture. He's gonna think that is a normal way to be. So children are a product of their environment. And my point is that we raise our children to be who we would love and expect them to be, but at the same time, we don't force them to be anybody other than what they choose to be.
I kind of agree with your raising makes a difference in how you turn out, but it sounds like you're saying that if you raise a child in a household where several people are openly gay, it's likely the kid's going to turn out gay.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
I don't believe in. I don't believe that. I don't think
it's a birth thing. I don't think it's a natural thing. I think maybe they won't turn out gay. Let's not say that. But I think the potential for them to be more accepting towards that lifestyle is 100% correct.
What's wrong with being accepting towards the gay lifestyle?
It's not for me.
So you're not accepting of the gay lifestyle?
Absolutely not.
So let's say you had a business. You're running your business and you're looking to hire somebody. Would finding out that person is gay alone be enough to disqualify you from hiring them?
Oh no, I would hire based on the merit of how well they can do the job. I don't care if you're black, white, brown, green, purple, Catholic, Christian, Buddhist, Asian. If I own a shoe store and you can sell 50 pairs of shoes in a day, I don't give a fuck if you ain't got no legs and arms and a gay man. You're hired.
What about in the military? What about gays in the military?
Kind of on the fence on that one. Trans in the military? Absolutely not.
You just said if you can do the job, it won't disqualify you from hiring them. So why should it disqualify the military from hiring?
Age in the military, I'm on the fence on.
Why? You just said if they can do the job.
Because I'm torn between whether or not homosexuality is a legitimate mental illness or not. Trans, I'm made peace with they're mentally ill.
Wait.
You've got a standard when you go into the military. Certain things will disqualify you. Mental illness is one of them.
But you just said that okay, you're on the fence whether being gay is mentally ill or not. But you would hire them to work at your business. If you don't know if they're mentally ill, why don't you hire them to work for you?
Oh, I didn't say that.
Yeah, you
I
did.
hire them based on the merit of their ability to do the job. If you're mentally ill, I'm not going to put you behind the wheels of a 50-ton tank and send you rolling down the street. That's just stupid.
But you would put them, if they're on the fence about being mentally ill or not, you would put them behind the cash register at your business.
Just as quick as I would as a guy with Down syndrome who could function like a normal person and handle a cash register. Why not? That doesn't disqualify him from doing everyday shit. I don't put him in the army.
So now you are a Christian, right?
Yeah.
How do you think God feels? And I'm just because I don't know. I'm just asking you. You think God has the same sentiment towards these people as what you're saying? Mentally ill and you're disqualifying them from things?
Man, look, God got a big hole with flames and he's ready to push me in the second I get up there.
Well, at least you know. At least you know. Gen X, I got to move it on. You always make for a great conversation, man. Thanks for coming through. We'll do it again soon.
All right, brother. Have a good day.
You too. Always the best. All right. Looking in the comments real quick. None Useful says, ever since Trump's mother dumped a bowl of mashed potatoes over his head for being a smartass, he's never gotten over it. Read Mary Trump's book on her uncle. Yeah, she made the rounds all over CNN and stuff like that. Of course, like I said, once you start criticizing Trump, MAGA gives you no credibility. So his aunt, she never got any credibility from MAGA. But I have heard some of her stories on President Trump. If people does something that I don't know about, and it hurts nobody, they can go. Okay, I don't know what you're saying. Oh, I agree with what you're saying. You said if people are doing something that you don't know about, and it doesn't hurt anybody, they can go ahead and do it. That's what the LGBTQ lifestyle is. What you're basically saying there, old Hanson, is that what you're doing in the comforts of your own home. I don't need to know that you got another man over there. Two men are together, and it's not hurting anybody for you guys to be together. So go ahead with it. I agree with that, old Hanson. I don't know why we are a society where we're trying to tell other people who you should love. I mean, and by the way, this doesn't just go to LGBTQ people. I mean, we used to look at other women like that. Like, you're 30 years old and you ain't got married yet. What's wrong with you? I mean, like, she had to fit a certain standard. You should have had a kid by now. You should have a husband by now. Is something wrong with you? I don't know why her not being married has no effect on me. Her not having kids has no effect on me. Why should I care? We've always been that way, though. We've always judged other people by how we believe they should be. So it's nothing new. Believe in the morals of the club, Gen X. Real quick exactly, it should never be a public thing. Well, but the thing, it's going to be public because if you're a man and you got a husband, drop your kids off for school in the morning, you give your husband a kiss, or you guys are walking in the park, two men holding hands. People are going to publicly know you're together. I mean, your neighbor across the street, the dude's outside cutting the grass, the other dude's on the porch sipping lemonade or something like that. They generally can tell. I mean, you guys you take your kids to the movies and you notice those two dudes are sitting in the movies in the same theater. Like, they clearly are a couple. You'll find out. So, you can try to hide it, and there are people who have had some success at doing it, but if people pay attention to how you live in your lives, they'll know think about how many folks have a picture of their spouse at work on their cubicle, or they driving a forklift and you got a picture of your wife on. I mean, well, if you're gay, that why the hell you got another dude that's on your forklift? I mean, people find out. People gonna find out. People just follow you like that. They gonna find out. Thank you for the follow, by the way. Somebody just gave me a follow. If you're offended by two people hugging despite their gender, you got problems. Yeah, homophobia. That's the problem. Anyway, folks, I do appreciate the 130,000 on the likes. Certainly follow the program if you enjoy this type of dialogue from all sides of the aisle. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone. This is an open forum. We are MAGA friendly, always have been MAGA friendly, always will be MAGA friendly. Now, we didn't have many MAGA callers, though. I think we had a handful of them, but understand we don't run from MAGA callers. We don't limit MAGA callers. We don't censor MAGA callers. Just right now, currently, with about to say Obama, with Trump in office, most of the criticism is going to be aimed at the right. I mean, there's not a lot of leftists in power. So when Biden was in office, I was constantly critical of his economy, gas prices, and things like that. And I had more MAGA viewers. Well, Biden's gone. Trump's in office. So I'm not going to keep criticizing Biden and Kamala Harris. They're irrelevant at this point. So now that Trump is getting the criticism and MAGA doesn't like Trump being criticized, MAGA has left the chat. And I've gotten more liberals. But MAGA's welcome on the program just like the liberal side is. It's not about picking and choosing who can come up and things like that. It's simply put, people don't like to hear their side criticized. We're going to be doing 2 of these today. I actually took a day off, so if you folks are around at about 7, we will be back. Knowing the way the world orbits under Trump, who knows what he may have done in the next few hours. But nevertheless, it is your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Appreciate you tuning in. Give your boy a follow if you're watching on Instagram, TikTok, Clapper. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to sub to the program. Until then, I'll see you later on this evening. Thank you.